Bless up for tuning in to Project Cheney. Magic happens when you question everything. Conspirituality becomes reality, weirdness is welcomed, and it's okay to change your mind. Big up yourself.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Project Cheney. As always, I am Cheney, and this is episode 17. I figured it perfect for episode 17 and my intentions of this whole podcast that it really had to matter, and it had to be somebody that the number 17 mattered to. And I think I did pretty good for you guys. Maybe not only good for you guys, maybe good for myself a little bit. I have been going through my own spiritual journey that I've tried to be pretty honest about on this show. And something with my Scorpio, usually I'm a person that I don't really forgive and forget very easily. I usually forget you and always remember kind of thing. I cut people off. I'm easily cold-shouldered. I've been through a lot in life as a lesbian woman. I've been discriminated against, and I've had a lot of really shitty things said to me in my lifetime. So it's kind of funny sometimes, even in this fight and the truther of it all. I was on Sam Tripoli and Zero, and he commented right when I came on, and he's like, oh, well, somebody in the conspiracy world that everybody loves, Cheney. And I'm like, oh, well, that's not true at all, because I've actually had some people in this realm that you guys all might like and think are a really nice person say some cruel, downright disgusting, homophobic shit to me. And some people, I don't really ever care if I hear from them again, or don't really ever care what happens. Like, I have no energy going in that direction toward them, like the I don't give a fuck of it all. But other people, I kind of see that sometimes people hit in a place when they feel like they're hitting a place. And in a weird way, my guest today, Graffanati, I feel like we ended up maybe in the internet of it all, in a ring against each other, and maybe with just not keeping our feet in the sand of who we assumed the other was, and maybe just kind of budging a little and not being such a Scorpio. I maybe realized that me and this guy fought on the same side more than we didn't. And maybe we were a lot more alike than I would have liked to originally admit. And maybe he had crazy synchronicities in his life too. And I don't always like to admit ever that I'm wrong. And I sure don't like to admit I'm wrong in a public forum like my own podcast. But I figured it was perfect for my episode 17 to kind of admit I was wrong, and let my audience too, if anyone's followed me or was privy to any of that whole shenanigans that went on, that maybe we all can be wrong, and maybe we can all grow, and maybe we can put some stuff behind us, because that is how we are going to build a better tomorrow, is by doing it better than our parents did before us. And that's how we're going to teach our children how to be better, is by showing them and not just telling them. So I will get back into Graff, but I had to kind of get that off my chest. This is quite an episode. And I mean, we just talk about Q shit and we geek out, but it was just kind of an episode that I think everyone's waiting for hell to freeze over. But I mean, even since this little bit of forgiveness in my life, I think everything that's kind of unfolded of certain people that maybe I have cut off, or certain people that have cut me off, or certain people that we are like, deuces, see you when we see ya. We've all realized we're kind of fighting for the same team. We're all on the side of the USA, and we're all on the side of the kids, and we're all on the side of people all over the world, and we're all on the side of freedom. And yeah. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. What do I have going on this week? I watched the UFC fights with TJ Dillashaw and Corey Sandhagen. I am super glad that TJ Dillashaw is back. I don't know if I felt like he won that fight, but for the narrative of it all, Corey's young. It'll be fine. I'm sure they'll have a rematch. And it was a great display, though, of MMA, and it was super exciting. Everybody should definitely tune in. And there was a couple of great fights that night. I won't get heavy into it. I watched the movie Gattaca again for the first time in a long time this week, and I highly recommend everyone watch that. It has Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, and it is a utopian, dystopian future where they fly a rocket to Saturn, but it's all genetically modified humans. So the kids, you pick your kid's eye color, their sex, their height, what kind of, make sure they don't have any ailments. You don't want them to have a heart murmur or asthma. And so it's really designer babies to the T. And everyone who isn't a designer baby, if they're like a natural birth made out of love and not science, they're invalids. And it's pretty interesting to what's going on now. I think it's a really great movie of him and his brother, and something that the invalids always had an excuse to fail. And the valid people, they were built so precisely right that they were in percentiles. So they'd be like, this guy's a 98 percentile. They never had an excuse to fail. And I thought that little philosophy was super interesting for humans and what they do to us, of how they tell us our shortcomings of where we're from, or the money we make, or our sex, or the color of our skin, or all the reasons that they set up for us to have excuses to fail. And the brainwashing of it all. I would be curious if you guys watch Gattaca. I want to know your philosophies of it, like the two brothers, and then kind of the Ouroboros of him and the guy he's portraying, the Jude Law character, kind of being two brothers. And if you look into like the egg philosophy, like the like Helen and her sister, the god and demigod of it all. It was like the one was a god and one was a mortal, partially mortal, and it kind of is the story of Gattaca too, in a way. I don't know if that was too heady in philosophy. Anyway, whatever. Maybe I'm stoned. Maybe I'm not. Don't tell the fuzz. John McAfee's been posting... It's driving Code Monkey crazy. And that's the funny internet world that we're in, that I'm like, ooh, are Julian Assange and Edward Snowden going to have a celebrity death match next? We don't know if McAfee's alive, but we don't know he's not alive. And at this point, I don't know if Joe Biden's alive. So where are we? What are we doing? I'm following it the same way as I always followed QAnon. Until somebody can prove to me who any of these things are, I'm still going to look at them. And I would be willing to bet that there's a lot of doomer, gloomer, black pillars out there that pretend they don't care, but they've followed every single Q post. They follow all of John McAfee. They follow Code Monkey's page on IG. They follow Dan Scavino on Twitter. And it's just funny to me that You can be as mad as you want to about the information coming out. It's still coming out. The Arizona election audit is still happening. Georgia's still going down. These places, it's all happening whether you like it or not. And what you do with the vaccines and the masks, and that is all your personal opinion. That is all your personal. I don't care about your mandates of your states. That is your personal choice if you're brave enough to stand in your truth at the moment to say no. And if you're a person, if you're raising kids, you have to teach your children that they have power enough over their own body to say no. And if it's not with a mask and a vaccine, where is it going to end? And if they witness you not be able to say no, how are they ever going to know that? It's not about a Me Too movement. It's not about Hollywood pinching asses. This is so much bigger than that. And you really have to see the value in your free will of not having the excuse. Just because the government is telling you, it doesn't mean that the karmic ramifications are any less or more. You have to stand up and say no. It's all about you doing it. Nobody's going to do it for you. Not Donald Trump, not Joe Biden, not Beyonce. It's up to you. And if you listen to the show, you know there's a lot of people out there like you. You know they're all over the world. They're all over the country of the U.S. And it takes a really minimal amount of work to find them. And if you're listening to this show and you feel lonely and you haven't made an internet friend yet, and you're not on Telegram in a chat room, you're not going over to My Maria 777 chat in a chat room and hanging out with peeps, you're not on IG, you can type people all you want. You can have a pen pal all you want with your typing with your thumbs back and forth, and you can feel like that's the same amount of energy exchange. But it is not the same amount of energy exchange as you would get sitting next to somebody in a pew or on a bar stool. It's not the same amount of energy exchange as you hearing my voice right now. It's not the same amount of energy exchange as you writing cursive on a piece of paper. It might be us talking in emojis with our thumbs, might be the least amount of energy exchange we could be exchanging with each other. No vibration, no communication, just tippy tap, blanket words that then, guess what else can happen? I can interpret any way I want. And then you can take my words and interpret them any way you want. Is that what we should be doing with each other's words and intentions? Is interpreting them any way we want? I think we should be taking these times to learn how to communicate again and church with each other. And I say it over and over again. I think the art of a conversation is dying and they want it dead. And you guys have to remember how to have it. And hopefully you listen to enough podcasts and maybe listen to this one and it just teaches you how to be like, oh, Cheney just asked that silly fucking question and didn't even give a shit. There is no silly questions. Sometimes you just get energetically called to ask somebody that because they energetically were dying to say it. And I think instead of being nervous and fear, like that same fear that makes you not want to take the mask off for judgment or not want to I don't even want to have this conversation at the doctor's about not getting my kid vaccine. It just seems like they're going to look at me in a way. It's kind of the exact same thing in a question of asking somebody, if they really love that or if they really hated it or if they were embarrassed or if they were heartbroken or if they were sad or I think as adults we need to ask each other our imagination more. Like the same way you'd let a kid just talk to you for 5 minutes about what they dreamed about last night or how, what's this drawing of? And it's some scribble, it looks like 2 Crayola colors all over the page. It's like, oh, what's this? A bush? And they're like, oh, it's a dragon. And you're like, oh, and you just pretend you see this fucking dragon on the paper. You're like, I guess, okay, it's a dragon. Um, I think in those ways, we kind of need to treat our friends like that a little more, and our fellow adults. We need to play a little more. Let your kids, if you have kids, why not just sit and color with them? What would be the harm of you sitting at the table for an hour while they color? There probably is a lot of stuff that you used to do when you were young that you've never even taught your kids how to do, that I'm sure they'd friggin' enjoy the shit out of it. I don't know. Maybe you know how to do a round off in your backyard, or maybe you used to be really good at soccer and your kids never even have seen you kick a ball. If you're out of shape and sitting on your fat ass and have not done a round off in two decades, please don't break your arm and blame it on me. You'll end up at a hospital with a COVID test up your nose and nanotech in your brain, and then where are we? Okay. What else? I told you about Gattaca. Oh, look, I have to do this, you guys. Go to projectcheney.com. Make sure you tell a friend. Leave a 5-star review somewhere. Follow me at Cheney in Wonderland on Instagram. You have to type in the whole thing because I'm so shadow banned. Follow me at Project Cheney on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah. I don't want money or anything like that. I just want you to tell a friend about it, and or leave a review somewhere wherever you get your podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. I have self-promote. It's something I'm bad at, but I'm going to get better at it because my guests deserve it and the conversations are incredible. So yeah, share it with a friend. And if you do want to hear me anywhere else, I was on Deborah Gets Red Pilled this week. It's a fun podcast. Adam is a great host, and he tries to red pill his mother-in-law, Deborah. I'm hopefully going to be having them both on my show sometime in August. Maybe you guys will get those in September. Maybe you'll get Deborah sometime in August and then Adam sometime in September. It was a really good time. I was kind of all over the place. We talked about Tom Hanks and Princess Di and Hollywood and Donald Trump and North Korea and yeah, everything crazy, kooky, Britney Spears of it all. Go check out that podcast. It was a good time. I also recorded with my Maria 777 this week. That will probably, my guess is, be out in the next coming week and a half, 2 weeks. I always like sitting down with her, and we can be current. We can talk about old conspiracies, new conspiracies, or make up conspiracies on the spot. I think we actually talked a lot about True Blood and vampires and shapeshifters and what of those supernatural things we actually think are real, amongst a million other topics. But it was a really good time as well. So check me out on both of those shows. Okay, weird conspiracy. You know, we talk about like seedless fruit, and maybe the seedless human of it all. Seedless human. They're trying to make us all infertile. Isn't it funny that, you know, if you've been smoking weed as long as some people, our weed used to be really seedy weed, and now it's seedless weed, and we're pushed and proned and like seedless weed even more. Yeah, I was just thinking maybe it's another way, like eating seedless fruit. Does it do something to our DNA to help make maybe not me infertile, but maybe all my eggs infertile if I were going to have kids? And would seedless weed maybe do the same thing? So let me add a little bit of fear to the one thing you were enjoying in your life, smoking your marijuana. Yeah, I wrote some other things down on here. I wanted to tell you guys about my 3 I like the, you know, not everybody's asking me what my type is, but what actresses I think are pretty or actors I think are cute or whatever when I'm talking to people. And I like Cate Blanchett, Kate Winslet, and Kate Beckinsale. And it's kind of, I think they're sexy in 3 different ways. I think Kate Beckinsale is like pixie-esque superhero. I think Kate Winslet is like voluptuous, curvy, classy. And I think Cate Blanchett is like distinguished and sophisticated and royal or something. But anyways, I don't know why I had to tell you guys about my 3 Kates, but I usually put most women into the category of one of the 3 Kates, and maybe not all women, but if it's a kind of woman that I'm intrigued by, they would go into one of those 3 categories. Dudes, I would have to break it down totally differently. And now I have to totally change my dude category because all my favorite men that I used to crush on, I really creep me out now. And like one of them would be Howard Stern, and you'd be like, ew, he is so ugly. And it's not his looks. I'm a lesbian. It's not his looks. But anyways, yeah, I'll bring that to you next time. I'll dissect like my 3 men, but there's 3 ladies, my 3 Kates. I'm always, anyways, conversation for another day. Let me talk about Graffanati. So, Graffanati is an Anon, and he is a wizard and a dude on the internet, and he has been shadow banned and deleted like the rest of us. And he has been in the conspiracy game a pretty long time. He gets into his past addiction a little bit with me, and he is open about his struggles with that and where he's at now. He believes in a golden timeline, and he believes that Trump is going to be our president in August. Pretty much all of the QAnon stuff, I think Graffanati is kind of there for, and he has a timeline for it. And sometimes in a world of all the people that I talk to and all the things that we know, it's nice to talk to somebody that is a forever red pill and is sitting with the most amount of optimism. And I would never even use the word hopium to describe Graff because he has a sense of knowing. And if we are going to a quantum way of thinking, sometimes you do just have to have a sense of knowing. Sometimes even when you can't logically make it make sense to yourself, or you can't make your feelings make sense to yourself, you just have to convince yourself that you know because you know. And it is a quantum school of thought. It is deciding to live in love every second instead of fear ever. And that is really what it always breaks down to. There is this video. It was one of my favorite videos. I've probably talked about it before, but it's called Illusion and Reality, or Illusion of Reality. I might post it somewhere. I know I have it saved. And it's just like 22 minutes long. And it really is just simple about that it's a love frequency or a fear frequency, and all the other forms of emotions attached to those 2 frequencies, no matter what they are. And so you have to decide to live in love. And there is something about the QAnon movement, the thing that brought me to it, even when I was just an old black pill conspiracy theorist and I just thought the end was nigh and Hillary was going to be my queen. There was something about unity and fighting together. And even though I know people from the outside, they think all Anons are Christians. That's not true. There's a lot of biblical verses that are used in Q because there's a Bible that exists for Christianity. There isn't a Bible that exists for a lot of our other spiritual feelings and spiritual knowings and non-indoctrination of knowing that source energy is with us. There isn't books on this. So there is passages and scriptures that are used in Q. And I do think there's also a lot of good Christian people that are Anons, but I think there's a bunch of other Anons that are every religion. And they were all kinds of good people, and they were all over the world, and they still are all over the world, and they fight for freedom, and they fight for kids, and they fight for truth. And, you know, QAnons get a lot of flack because people say, well, that was just put there for you so you would sit complacent and do nothing. You would sit on your hands and do nothing. The idea of a savior, of a savior, of a savior. Well, which is it? Are QAnons all Christian? In which case they already have a savior. They don't need Donald Trump to be their savior. You're making Donald Trump their savior. And I'd also stick up for the Anons and say, of all the people I know on the planet that are really doing something, that are going to their state houses, that are going to their city halls, that are planning gatherings and meetups and things and putting together, documents and forms of how to help people kind of unravel the mess, or even educate people on the laws in their own states. It's Anons. And so you can love them or hate them. And you can get super, super angry because your whole thing is Hillary's not in cuffs and therefore none of it's ever been proven. And you can get really mad because you think all these people online are just some nincompoops that are just going and only praying on Sundays, and they're just sitting around, always hoping that Superman's going to fly out of the phone booth. I think that would be projection. I think you should look in your mirror, and I think you should ask yourself what you have fucking done to make sure that the New World Order doesn't take over us. I would ask what meme you have created. I would ask what person you've been courageous enough to stand up to. I would ask how much of your Congress people or presidential cabinet people you would even know if it wasn't for some QAnon. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. The only reason Epstein didn't kill himself, the only reason you have the phrase reverberating in your brain of, 9/11's an inside job, the only reason Free Britney may actually be something that matters is because there's digital soldiers, which are people that subscribe to no army, and they subscribe to no cult, and they subscribe to no religion. And in fact, if you're old enough, you remember when these digital soldiers were just called hackers. Remember that movie with Angelina Jolie? Yeah, it's the same kids that were against the status quo. They've been against the New World Order and against the CFR and against the Bilderberg and against the Pizzagate and against the Bidens and the Clinton Foundation and against. And nothing's changed. You can call the people whatever you want. You can put whatever letter you want to in front of it. And you can pretend you don't care. But I think you do care. And I think even though you might be taking your black pilled suppository every single night, you will sit and listen to this episode and hope we are right. If you're a Christian, it should be easy for you to think God wins. And if you believe in the simulation theory, how powerful are you? Do you control your timeline or not? Well, Graff not only thinks he controls his timeline, he thinks he's on the golden timeline. So, if you're listening to this, you are on the golden timeline too. Enjoy the episode. Hey, beautiful. You guys. Welcome back to another episode of Project Cheney. Today with me, we're changing timelines and opening portals and pretty much showing you that anything's possible, right? So I have with me the famous Graff.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. Yeah, we're definitely going to open some portals today.
I was I didn't want to call you infamous and start it off right like that because we're not doing that. I like the word infamous more than famous, though. It sounds fun. It sounds like cowboys.
It does.
Yeah.
Oh.
So how
Let's
are
get
you?
into it.
Let's get it.
I'm
I know
doing
we
good.
Have twin drinks at the same time. This is a question that I've been waiting to ask someone, but I feel like somebody who's only been in the QAnon movement will really understand what it means. This question.
Okay.
What has it meant to hold the line for you?
What has it meant? Well, let me get into the skinny of things here. I've been doing this my whole life. I don't know if you follow me. Sometimes I'll post my Facebook statuses from like 2009 and before. Like I've been in this way before Q was even like an idea on the internet, before it even came on 4chan or whatever. So I've been holding the line my entire life. You know, I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. And not to be a doomer, but I never thought it was ever going to come. You know, I thought we were going in FEMA camps. I thought, you know, people are tripping out about the vaccine, but it was going to be a whole different type of situation if the New World Order really had power, like people, you know, black pillars and doomers really believe that they do, because it would be forced. There would be no, you know, Operation Warp Speed or any of this stuff. So holding the line, I mean, I've been doing this my whole entire life. So I really, at this moment, I don't have a choice. You know,
I feel similar in a way that I feel like you have to have been a true black pill for a minimum of a decade to even understand what being a true red pill is now. Everybody
Totally.
thinks it's the other way around. Like you become a black pill doomer once you learn enough. But I just feel like the black pill doomers are the people that learn too much information too fast. They're just learning about FEMA camps and just learning about coffins and just learning about this shit that you're like, bitch, this is all the shit that hasn't happened. This is all the shit that hasn't gone down. Like Alex Jones was screaming about this shit. And so it's kind of, they almost learned too much too quick over the last 3 years that they're like, everybody's bad, Jesuits.
Yes. I totally agree. It's like a lot of people have this information dump all at once. Like people like that have been doing this for a long time. We had to suffer for years. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember in like 2005, like Zeitgeist came out and like, you know, like literally, like I go back to my Facebook statuses of me like saying these things about the Illuminati ruling the world and all this stuff. Nobody's commenting. There's no community. There's nobody backing you up. And I keep it real, people. I developed a really serious drug problem. You know, I was addicted to opiates for 14 years because nobody was listening. There was nobody there to, you know, give a helping hand.
How old were you when you got addicted to opiates?
Oh shit. I mean, I was doing other drugs before that. Like, so I'm from New Jersey. I live like 30 minutes outside of like NYC. So I was like a club kid, you know, like I would go to like all like the after hours and take a bunch of ecstasy pills and party all night long and whatever. And then I developed an opiate problem. I want to say around the age of like 24, around there. Yeah. Like when it first like Oxycontin 80s and all that stuff like really hit. And, you know, I always tell people, I was like, you know, I was fully out of the matrix already, but the only thing that held me there was blue pills, because I was addicted to the Roxys, the Oxy 30s and their little blue pills. And I was like, this is the only thing that had me blue pilled were actual blue pills. So, you know, for so long, it's like when no one's there to listen to you, you know, like that's true doomer. You know what I mean? Like now, like there's millions of people that are awake and that are understanding and that you could have a conversation with. And it's like, I feel like I was kind of prepped already for this. So when this did happen, I could be there as a shining light to help people. You know what I mean? Like to guide them the right way. And, you know, like if you are a black pillar or a doomer, like I can give you some of my facts and some of the things that I see and that I know to be true. And that kind of gives them like a cozy place to be at, you know?
What was the first like real life conspiracy that you were like, holy shit? You know, I always say like digital soldiers are the reason everybody has in their brain Epstein didn't kill himself. But long before QAnon, digital soldiers were the only person that kept it in your brain. 9/11 was an inside job. 9/11 was an inside job. We're competing against the biggest conglomerate of all time, brain control conglomerate of all time, MK Ultra of all time, all these black screens, and we're winning. Our information is getting out there because we're tagging things. We have good marketing. They're trying to compete against the, like Bernie mittens. They think it's so fucking clever when they virus us with Bernie mittens and we all get involved. I call it Tiger Kings. I'm like, we think the Tiger Kings put out for us that we all think it's so clever to put our faces on it and do this symbology of Tiger Kinging. But if you look up to the gods they worship and the shit they have going on, or what might be our ether pool or our Akashic pool, we're having these moments where we're like, why are we all collectively thinking of tigers right now? That might be some real shit. And so they know that's going to happen, and they put the movie Tiger King out. So when we all get the two words Tiger and King, King Tiger, and we don't look into it any deeper because they've stolen it out of our zeitgeist. Like they've taken it, and but it's like that's what we're battling against. Like that, sorry to get off track, but I just think
it's cool.
QAnons are really just the first time that it took all these conspiracy theorists from all over, all ages, all religions, and put them on the same team.
Totally. I mean, I love where you're going with that too. Like, it's a collective consciousness, so what they've been doing to us for so long with television is they're telling our vision, and everybody is vibrating on that same notion of obvious fear. The news doesn't say anything good, so it keeps us in a low frequency. So now with, Q and all this stuff, it's what Q's based on, and why they went to 4chan is because of game theory, right? So they knew like all these gamers and shit posters and these, I call them misfits, right? Because we're a misfit to society. We're the ones that were going to bring this out into the forefront, and we were going to use our memes and our jokes and, our energy that can really get through somebody's mind. And it's kind of like, you go back to Egypt or any of these ancient societies, they use hieroglyphics, right? Hieroglyphics are memes, right? So who controls the meme controls the universe. So the more meme magic that we use with these people, the more that we're actually changing the timeline, the more that we're bringing this to the forefront, and we're destroying their black magic that they've been using for so long. And now we're using our white magic against them. So it literally is a game of whatever you want to call 5D chess or whatever people call it. But it's literally our consciousness is coming back. We're getting our powers back. I mean, this goes all the way back to like the Library of Alexandria. When they burned it down to hide all the knowledge, and the Jesuits took it because they don't want us to understand. They want us to be scared of these symbols and numbers because they don't want us to actually tap into the powers that they have,
Yeah, it's true. I think all of the symbols that people would think of in their brain right now as being like swastika, so scared. But if you dig a little deeper, you're like, whoa, this symbol is represented everywhere. Like this symbol is the symbol it probably has so much power. Or even bullshit now with the Pizzagate of it all, that spiral that goes in, like that's a universal symbol. They're not allowed to just steal it and make it their pedophile symbol. There's so many things that are considered so evil that I think the other side, like that serpent in the Bible, we all have serpent fear, but then we all have these energy serpents that crawl up us. And so it's just, we don't really, because of the lack of knowledge and what has been stolen from us, everything is a nursery rhyme and we're just left to argue about it. Like, what's this really mean? Well, what's this really mean? I always like to think of the Q as when we all picked this avatar for the Earth game, it's the symbol we all collectively agreed on to remember. We didn't know what we were going to remember. We didn't know what superpowers were going to open up to us. We didn't know how it was going to unfold, but it triggers everyone, whether they love it or hate it. It's unlocking in them what it did in us, and it's just taking different routes. Sometimes it has to go through your anger. Anytime I feel that anger or rage, I'm like, fire is the most purifying element. Everybody thinks it's water, but it's fire.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about intention, right? It's like what they are using for bad, we can use for good, right? It's like everything that is on this planet was created by our creator, and nothing is actual. I mean, there are things that, are unconscious that they created, like pedophilia and all these sick things that they do. But everything else, like the symbolism and all these things that, they're like, oh, 666. Oh my God, that's the devil. Like 666 is carbon. They're mocking you because you're stuck in a carbon cell. They don't want you to elevate. They don't want you to alchemize your blood into gold, right? And like, that's what the Philosopher's Stone and all this stuff is because like, we are actually supposed to be higher celestial vibrating beings. And it's kind of like, like that evolution of like, oh, the monkey and then the human, that's all mockery. They want you to stay in this carbon cell. So they use that 666 and they throw it in your fucking face. Like, oh yeah, this is the devil's number, da, da, da. It's like, no, it's not the devil's number. It's a mockery that they're using on you.
Okay, I'm gonna go back into so what was your first conspiracy? You were kind of like, the world's like this. They're not. This isn't what is going on. Like whatever they're telling us on the TV is not what's happening. How old were you, or what conspiracy was it, or documentary? You said Zeitgeist.
Yeah, but before even Zeitgeist, it was honestly, 9/11 for a lot of people, right? I lived like 30 minutes from New York City. I remember being in 7th grade and just like I started to, I started to question everything. And, I was like one of those kids. I was like listening to like Immortal Technique. Like, I've been in this world for a really long time. So it was like, I started to put the pieces of the puzzle together really young, and, I've told this story before. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but like a lot of crazy things have happened to me. I was given a book, How to Sell My Soul. I was going to be a rapper. My family on my dad's side, their bloodline has a castle in Sicily. So, I mean, this is something that's always kind of been coexisting in my life. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like I had a choice of which side to take. I could have joined them or I could have gone against them, and that's why, I mean, all the things that have accumulated to my life, like I dropped out of school, like sophomore year.
It sounds like a really crazy thing to say, that you're like, I have a castle in Sicily, but I have 2 friends that are Sicilian, and both of them in their family that I've always known since I've known them, one of them is like, no, like I have millions of dollars in Sicily, but I can't go back because my family will be murdered. Like I can't get off the plane with my name because my family will be murdered. And I'm like, what? This is insane. Like 2 different friends from 2 different parts of my life that like land. One of the other one has land. Like I have tons of land in Italy or in Sicily that I cannot go and touch. And I'm like, what happened in Sicily? We know Italy and the Vatican and everything, and Sicily. It's like, Jesus, what part of that history are we not figuring out, that all these the mafia in the United States were told from our history it's really bad, but if you really look into it, it was kind of like gangs in a way. They were trying to take care of their neighborhoods.
Yeah,
there was some dirty shit going on, and they were like trying to combat the church, the kings, the whatever. So they made like neighborhood mafias.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for a long time in Italy, right? Like you said, the Jesuits, the Vatican, what they've done over there, and it's it's all the same people. It's the same people that infiltrated Israel. It's the same people that tried to infiltrate Egypt. It's this, what I like to say, in biblical terms, is the children of Cain, right? Mm-hmm. It's like these unconscious, I don't know how deep your listeners are, but reptilians,
we go everywhere. I've talked to fairies on this show. I've talked to angels.
Let's go. Let's go.
We go everywhere. And then I've talked to very like logical, brilliant people that are just awesome artists, but they'll totally get down in conspiracy. So yeah,
I love it.
I like to have the conversation, like be a drug, and then sit on it for the next 2 weeks, like you would a good documentary, and be like, that was said there too, and that was said there too, and open up my own rabbit holes. So then when I do the intro for it, it's kind of a whole project.
I love that. But yeah, I think, it's reptiles. That's my like bottom of the rabbit hole. Like, that's what it comes down to. You talked about the Tiger King and all that before. Like that's the Lyrans, the Lyrans and these Draconians, they've been at battle for a long time. So, I mean, it goes deep.
So you're like, do you get cleaned up off drugs, and then get deeper into conspiracy? Do you get cleaned up off drugs and find religion? Are you religious in your life at any point? Do you grow up in the church?
Oh man, religion. I've told this story before too. So I got kicked out of CCD, catechism, whatever you want to call it. My family were Catholics. So this is a crazy story. When I was 11 years old.
If you guys don't know, if you're not Catholic or when you're a certain age, youth, you have to go through this like weird ritual of learning how to be a Catholic. And then there's rituals in the Catholic Church, even if you go to a whole wedding of your family, where if you haven't gone through these rituals, you can't take the blood and body of Christ. You can't go like communion. You can't do, it's a whole, you're not supposed to marry somebody. Yeah, it's very, still, it seems so old school, but it's still existent right now.
Yeah. So I got kicked out. there was this one priest that he'd always like grab my shoulders and like when he shook my hand, he'd shake it really hard. And like, I was always like the ADHD, which I don't believe in, but, you know, they put me on all these medicines, hyper kid. And, you know, I couldn't focus or whatever. So one day they brought me into his office, whatever. And he like did some like weird touch to me. And I basically said, go fuck yourself, like at 11 years old, whatever. So they kicked me out of CCD. Then about 2 weeks after that happened, I got followed by a car, and I started running and I'm screaming, fire, fire, fire. I ran all the way back to my house. I told my mom called the cops. They pulled this guy over. And when they pulled him over, he had chloroform and rope in his in his trunk. And what I found out years and years and years later, as I grew up, that priest went down in New Jersey. His name's Monsignor John something. I forget his last name. He went down as one of the leaders in a pedophile ring in New Jersey. And when I was a kid, I think that he sensed my light or sensed whatever was in me and tried to groom me, you know, with shaking my hand real hard and grabbing me and doing all this weird fucking sick shit to me. And then they couldn't get me that way. So he sent an actual trafficker to come get me. So I totally rejected the Catholic religion. And, you know, the situation that happened with me when I was given this book, How to Sell My Soul, I had a Christos moment. You know, I don't know if it's a religion aspect. I believe in the Holy Spirit. You know, we could say that. I believe in the Holy Spirit. I'm more of a spiritual understanding type of person. I believed in Christ consciousness. I believe that we are walking in the footsteps of what Jesus laid forth, you know, and I think that they killed him because he was trying to teach enlightenment, and they took his words and they turned it into enslavement. You know, I feel like we're all divine. I feel like we're all children of God, and we're all walking in our footsteps of following the same thing that Jesus tried to do. And we're doing that mission right now. And the people that are anointed and understand that the Son of God is the Son, it's the Holy of the Holies. You know, I don't know if you like Santos, but Santos really gets into all this stuff. And that's where my beliefs are.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a piece of a puzzle like the Tower of Babel, but it's done with spirit, and it was like shattered over all these religions and all these schools of thought and all these peoples and tribes we'll never even hear of. And the more people you kind of talk to, you gather this puzzle, and the more you're open to it. I am an omnist, where I think there's truth in every religion, and they all could have existed. Like I don't think they take away from each other. I think they add to each other if you let them. And if you were a god and you decided to come down in the flesh of man, and you were never going to allow yourself the like full love sexual connection with a person in this lifetime, that would already be an intentional sacrifice that you made every day. That would be a shredding of your flesh. That would be very painful to, you know, have your mother and maybe your best friend or the person you love the most watch you, the two Marys, like watch you die. But then as the Marys, to not turn away, as gruesome as it would be and as heartbreaking, you also know that the person that you love is leaving their flesh. So you'd want to make eye contact with them the entire time. But I think for a God, if you're truly God and you want to experience human and flesh, and you also know you're God, that you only get 33 years to do it, you would want to leave your fucking flesh in the most feeling way of leaving your flesh you could. And only a God would ask for that kind of death, of like feeling every nail go into every part of your skin. But he was built for it. He's God. So it seems like even that 3 days, and I think the sun being the sun and the crown of it all, even the way the halo is represented on things, like a connection, there has to be some big connection with us and these stars and this moon and the sun.
Oh yeah, there
has to be. Like it's written in every religion in the same that they say Jesus is the walking in of Pisces, and you know, like that's why he's the fish, and like
I'm
they
a
attach.
Pisces.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
And what's your moon sign?
I believe it's Scorpio.
Oh, okay. My brother's a Pisces, and your story, a lot of the times when I hear it, it reminds me of my brother. He was ADHD, put on the Ritalin and Adderall. And I think there was this like whole generation of like Xers to Y, that like that generation right there, that they told them they were almost born with this innate ability to be this fucking human sponge and take on all these projects and become good at them. And they numbed that all up with Ritalin and Adderall. But what they also did was implant addiction in children. Like they implanted it, and they had mothers give it to their child. So it was like, here's a little bit of meth for your 5-year-old. Let's see what kind of addiction protocol they have for the rest of their lives. So then we saw in our generation, in our lifetime, it just pretty much blanket our country the same way like in the 80s, how like all gay men died of AIDS. In the like late 2000s, early 2000s, all like straight men died of opiate addictions. We just saw this like genocide. And or they're in the prison population if they were poor enough.
It's fucked up, honestly. You know, I'm a big believer in indigo children. You know, I think I'm an indigo, and your brother probably is too. You probably are too. I mean, anybody that has this like awakening sequence at a young age, it's like we're meant to have it, you know. And I feel like society, the monster that they created, was to shun these people, you know, like just throw them in the back, like you said, get them addicted to a drug at a young age. But I mean, that's why I had a pill problem, you know, like they gave me pills my whole life. I was medicated in the 4th grade. Well, you know, oh, this pill's gonna make you this, you know. So it was like I was kind of groomed for it, you know what I mean? So it's like when I grew up and it was like, oh, you know, this pill can shut off these thoughts, or like, you know, like maybe I can numb myself to the point where I don't think about the Illuminati is going to take over the world and Obama's the Antichrist and all this stuff, you know? So like that's why I started really doing it. And it's like you said, you know, they just literally have created this society to keep us in this cube, right? And it goes back to Saturn worship and Black the cube of Saturn. Yeah, it's literally like, think about it. When you go to work, you know, most people, they're in a cubicle, like they're looshing you. They're keeping you at this like lowest point. So you don't, like I said before, you don't get this DNA upgrade. That's why they're using the shots, the jabs, whatever you want to call them. It's to block the inner sun in you. We are the sun. We are the creator. We are created of the creator. It literally says this in every religion, that God created us in his image, but it's not in flesh. Flesh is a prison. This is something that, you know, that was put on us. We are literally stardust. We are the entire universe and the sun. And these Jesuits and these, you know, Red Shield Rothschilds and Rockefellers and all these people, they know that shit. They know that shit. And they will use every asset that they have to keep you from this knowledge, every asset. And they'll block out every single thing that they possibly could.
And it's like something I try not to preach, but it is something I preach right now, is your authenticity and vulnerability is the way for you to be the pure aperture of God. And your authenticity is the only aperture God make like that. If you try to be fake and try to be somebody else, or try to worship and walk in somebody else's exact thing because they did it this way and it worked for them, you're missing out on some part. You might be 99% good, but you're not the aperture of God you're supposed to be. It seems like usually when you're being purely authentic, you're standing alone for a period of time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I even feel like for QAnons a little bit of setting dates. It was them having to eat their ego because an "I told you so" isn't what the world's going to need when all this unfolds.
No, hugs, love.
Yes. And there was a big part of it that I think there was everybody sitting in this, oh, I can't wait to just tell my sister, my best friend, my whatever, they were wrong. Like, no, do you realize how horrible like this has been to find out for you? How many nights you've stayed up, how many relationships you've lost? Give them a fucking minute. I really feel like it's people really waking up, because I used to be a black pill. And when QAnon first started, I always researched it. I research every conspiracy. But when I called them QAnon kids, because they started coming out with their questions or their JFK Jr. and I'm like, there is a conspiracy behind JFK Jr.'s murder. You actually should learn it. And they would frustrate me. I'd be like, this isn't QAnon. This is an old conspiracy. This isn't, and I wasn't getting that. Oh, all of these questions that they're making them ask, they're making them research it. They're coming to me and I'm treating them like an asshole instead of helping them find the information. And it was almost like watching it all collectively wake up that I sat back one day and realized it was my ego that didn't like QAnon. I'm like, I wanted to wake people up. This stupid whatever internet 4chan, 8chan thing, this is what woke you up. You weren't listening to me for the last decade talk. This was my idea. Me. But once you like kind of take that out of it, I'm like, holy shit. This really collectively woke up more people than anything I ever seen in my whole life, even those 2 buildings falling in New York.
Bingo.
And
straight up.
When did you first wake up to QAnon?
I actually got in a little bit later. I want to say around like 2000. It was still 2017, but it was probably a couple, like 4 or 5 months into it. I want to say.
Were you already into Pizzagate?
Oh yeah. I already.
Were you already Sandy Hook? Like there was. Like all the
way into all that.
Okay,
way
there wasn't the surprise of was when you first heard about it. Were you like, "Fuck this noise"?
I questioned it a lot, because people came to me and they're like, "Yo, did you see this thing Q? Like he's saying all these things that you've been saying for a long time and da da da." And I have some friends, back from Jersey that like brought it on my radar, and I was like, "No, what's this?" So I started looking at it. I'm like, this is probably a LARP, this is probably just like some kid or whatever. But then like, as it went on and I started to see like actual like proofs, like, like the tippy top, when they like told Trump to add tippy top into his thing. And I was like, whoa, wait. Because I was already for Trump. You know what I mean? Like, because I knew how bad
for Trump.
It's so weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the weird thing about Trump, right? It's like, he's always kind of just been there. Right. It's like, but I never really
I understand that as a New Jersey kid, being a Florida girl, I'm born in Palm Beach. So for me, he was always there. It's like crazy to me that he's this person now. Like, and I know the world has always had him there with the Apprentice of it all or late night appearances.
Yeah.
But being from New Jersey specifically or Florida specifically or New York specifically, he's different kind of there. He's always there.
Right? Exactly. It's like he kind of like inserted himself into the timeline. Like I made a joke about this the other day. I was like, imagine you're a time traveler and you like go back to 2005 and you're like, Donald Trump's going to save the world. Like he's involved with this military plan. And like people look at you like, what are you fucking saying right now? But like, he's always just kind of been there. So like, I never really had like a bad opinion on him. You know what I mean? Like I never really got like those Illuminati type of vibes off of him. Like I did with like the Bushes or like these other characters, that were.
I agree. I always just more thought New York Mafia. I didn't ever think he was touching kids. I just more
a boss.
He's probably killed a couple people and buried them in cement, but
yeah, just a boss. You know what I mean? Just a boss. Never like I never had that like no, this guy's satanic.
I wouldn't want to wait on him. He seems like kind of a prick to wait on, but he seems like he'd tip good.
You know what like I feel like I'm so trained to Donald Trump's like energy. Cause like, my mom's the biggest ball buster in the world. Like, like I come from an Italian family. Like that's like our second language. You know what I mean? Is busting each other's balls. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm not like offended by anything. That's why I have like such tough skin.
Even the locker room talk of it all. Like that's how me and my lady friend sit and talk all the time. There's nothing he said on that bus that we wouldn't just say we wouldn't even apologize after. Like that wouldn't even be an apology after. I'd be like, oh, I'm so famous. I can get these bitches to do anything I want. I can just ask them. What? That's like, not that we say that exact quote or whatever he said, but it's like you get the, I don't know. He's just talking shit. And the other number one thing with that whole moment, since I brought it up, my favorite, he was literally talking to a Bush. He was talking to Billy Bush, related to the Bushes. If you don't think he knew what he was doing, like the whole thing is kind of humorous that's still like the worst thing that came out about Trump that started the whole Me Too movement.
Yeah, I mean that was loaded up already. You know what I mean? Like they already had all their assets ready to be deployed. You know, because he was against them. You know what I mean? Like he was a sleeper. That's what I like to call it. He was a sleeper. He just got up in there. He had to do what he had to do. You know, he figured out who was who and what was what, and boom, flipped on him. You know, and like that's why I say
he was supposed to get assassinated on the escalator. I believe it. I believe he knew he was supposed to play that role, and that's why he brings up the golden escalator all the time in his speeches.
Golden.
To just be like, oh, you didn't get me, though, did ya?
Yes, exactly. They tried to shoot him with a rocket. They tried to kill him in Las Vegas. They've tried so many times to kill this guy. He's anointed, whether people want to believe that or not. I believe his great grandmother, her maiden name is Christ. Like, you know, you get into the whole like Baron Trump stuff and time traveler and his uncle being connected to Tesla. I mean, this is all like, you know, King Cyrus. Like, it's just what God does. You know what I mean? Like, he'll take the person that you don't expect to be like this anointed warrior, and he puts them on the front and center to be able to do this, because no one else could do what he did. You know what I mean? No one. I truly believe that. Like, this is something that we've never seen before. You know, and
he said even in one of his speeches, you know, where he's like, when everybody just started chanting toward the end of all this, we love you, which never happened to a politician before. And he started to say, you guys have to stop. You're going to make me cry. And if I cry, you won't vote for me. And there was something very specific when he said that about what America needed at that time, and the character, the literal character he was, that we needed that character. And we all mock it, and females mock it in the podcast world where we call Trump daddy. But it legitimately is what America needed at the time, was a daddy figure. There was so many single mom, like we were in a single mom society. Like they had separated the families in such a way that even if you were lucky enough to have both parents in the house, they were both working, that you grew up with the TV raising you, the iPad raising you, the phone raising you. We were like latchkey kids. They just never thought we'd find Alex Jones and take it seriously.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we needed an alpha. You know, Obama was the opposite of an alpha, right? He was a fucking beta straight up. And we needed an alpha. And Trump, he came and he delivered on that, you know, for people that like think he's a Jesuit or he's New World Order, like there's so many proofs to show that he's not. You know, like he got the sword dance in Saudi Arabia. He literally walked in front of the queen. That does not happen. The queen.
He stepped the sandbags in North Korea. Like,
dude,
he isn't part of the
That does not
cabal.
happen. That does not happen. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, for all these people like that are still dooming or like, oh, he's a jab salesman or this or that. Like, first off, if Operation Warp Speed never happened, force mandate right off the bat, force mandate. So Trump, like, he was the character, like you said, that we needed at this moment. So back to the Q stuff. Sorry, we went off on a little tangent there, but I knew that he was the right one. So when I saw that he was reacting to this, I was like, whoa, there's some meat and potatoes to this. There's something going on here that's bigger than maybe some kid that's just, you know, putting out information that I already knew, you know, because he's getting this reaction. And then, you know, all these proofs just started to come out, all these different proofs. And, you know, these specific, you know, when you understand like the time stamps and the dates and all that stuff, the way they were lining up, you know, you got the McCain proof, the Alaweed being arrested proof, you know, there were all these things. And then Epstein, you know, Epstein was like that, like you said, that major red pill bomb that really started to wake up the normies and really started to get them on cue. And it was just like, this has to be real. Like, this can't be a LARP. Like the cabal wouldn't do this. Some kid jerking off in his basement wouldn't do this. Like, there is something so much bigger to this.
A time where I thought, me and you, like anyone like us, or a couple of group of people like us that have been Alex Jones zeitgeist kids for long enough, we, what is it, Cicadia or the OA, like the whole internet, like true, like fine puzzle of it all. We could have done this. There was a time I thought, nope, we could have set this up. We could have set it up with dates. It's easy to make symbology around. We know enough about ancient religions. We could do all of this. But There was a time, I know tippy top is big for everyone. There was a time where like Melania with the I don't really care to you jacket.
Yeah,
and the Ghislaine, the Epstein, but then if you even look back now to the Q posts, if Anons all collectively, if we went this date and put in JUL 17, this, and most people don't know how to use the Q maps either. So it's like they have all this information in front of them and they have no idea how to use it. If we all collectively still went back to those and used them as deltas, because we're the Army now, our general already gave us our playbook. We keep waiting for our general to need to speak to us, but your coach doesn't need to tell you if you study your fucking playbook. If we all take those dates, so like I pulled up a date for yesterday or whatever, and Jussie Smollett. So I'm like, oh, cool, Jussie. I'm going to put Jussie on my page today because that's what we do. If we all collectively do that as Anons, then guess who's talking about Jussie again? Guess who's talking about Kamala again? Guess who's talking about Chicago and all this creepy shit attached to it with Obama? Let's get deep in it. So I feel like we have this playbook, but somewhere we all, because of falling prey to these dates that we all set, never Q, we all set these dates, falling prey, we all got heartbroken and then infighting with each other instead of going back to our playbook and just being like, okay, let's just July 17th. It's all here. And we just have to, we have the accounts. We've proven we're the ones that we don't care how many times we're shadow banned. And I don't give a fuck. Anyone listening to this who's just a conspiracy theorist and hates Q, because I know I have a lot of those people too.
I'm sure.
That you're not getting shadow banned for shit you're talking about. You're not getting your accounts taken away for shit you're talking about. You're only getting your account fucking taken away if you're talking about Trump winning the election or fucking Q. You can post whatever you even want to about pedophile or Pizzagate nowadays, and you're still not getting the shadow bans. But all my Anon friends, they can't talk about anything online. Anything. I will also give all my friends any credit talking about anti-vax shit. Their shows are always getting taken down. If you're anti-vax, you can't do anything. But I agree with you when you're like, two things Trump did smart. This was going to roll out. This is the Agenda 201. This is Agenda 2020, Agenda 2021, and 2030, whatever you want to look into. This was the whole New World Order's plan. They were going to have Soleimani shoot off a missile. They were going to have Kim Jong-un shoot off a missile. It was going to be craziness, race wars in the streets. The TV was going to dictate everything. None of us would leave the house for 5 years. But he put all the COVID shit in Pence's hands because he knew Pence was a dirty fucking rat. He knew Fauci was a dirty fucking rat. He knew Birx was a dirty fucking rat. So if you look up to every single Trump press conference, which all the people that hate Trump didn't watch him at all the people that pretend they love Trump and call themselves MAGA, they didn't watch any of those speeches at all. I watched every fucking one, every fucking word. Trump, all that shit, when they all boil down this COVID, guess whose hands aren't any of the signatures of the COVID team? Trump. That was all Pence. He allowed the New World Order to dictate their New World Order, and he kept his hands off of it. So
amen.
I do think some people are going to fucking die from vaccines. I do think some people died from a real fucking virus that was released from a fucking lab that has nothing to do with the common cold. But I still believe it was the least amount of casualties in a plan they've been planning our entire existence. We were supposed to, they only want, how many of us are on the Georgia Guidestones do they actually want left?
What is it, like 500 something? I forget the number.
Yeah, 500 million or 500, something so small. Like they just wanted to dance naked and fuck in the streets of Rome while we were all scared in our houses.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, this is what I know for a fact, that we're on the golden timeline or the optimal timeline or whatever you want to call it. They would love to have me in a FEMA camp. They would love it. They would love it because they've been watching me my whole life. And I know that for a fucking fact. They would love to have all of us beginner truthers that really started. Cause we've been blacklisted and watched, I'm sure, for so long. Right. I mean, they were making
MySpace hell for people.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I got Behold the Pale Horse right here. I read that shit when I was like
too. I had like
Behold the
Pale Horse and Gods of Eden, and I'm like, what?
Yes, dude. They would have loved to get me in a FEMA camp and torture me and do all that shit. Didn't happen, right? They would have released a virus that your fucking skin would have melted off your bones, right? Like, didn't happen. All of these things, listen, there's casualty of war, right? It's going to happen regardless, even if you read any of these ancient civilizations text or anything like that, there was going to be some sort of purge, and I'm sorry to the people that lost their lives, and, death is a lie itself. We're infinity, so where you're going is better than here anyway, right? If you understand it. And if you don't understand it, you're going to come back for another ride on Earth and you'll figure it out. But we're not going to get into that. But basically what it is, if Trump didn't do the things that he did, and like you said, these pressers, like I'm a big believer that COVID had to happen to be able to save these children, right? Now that we know about, the actual degree of what COVID was, to have those giant boats, the Mercy and the Comfort. And like, I don't know if you remember, but like
Mercy's in Portland right now.
They're saving kids, dude. I will guarantee you 1,000,000% fact. I remember when George News on Twitter was posting pictures, and there were incubators on board. There, the children not children, the patients that were in the hospital beds, they had nutrition bags. Okay, nutrition bags. The ventilators were made to go into these underground tunnels that were under Central Park to bring the kids out because they haven't breathed regular air in so long. So they needed these ventilators.
And we knew for a fact our military was training for subterranean warfare. What else would they need that for? And everyone always said, well, it was for the Afghanistan.
No,
really? Because Trump didn't add any more troops to Afghanistan. Where are these Russia pulled out of Afghanistan. We're not training to fight just in Afghanistan. And if we are, why? Why really? We're all training to fight in subterranean wars for what reason? There's definitely, it's all below. It's all below. As above, so below. It's all happening down there. And at the same time with Elon Musk, I know people like to Elon Musk worship, which I'm not on that train, but he has SpaceX, which he makes all his money from tax dollars. He has Tesla, which he makes all his money from tax dollars. He's with the Tesla car in space. But the number one company of his is boring. And he's digging tunnels underground. I think it's like the sketchiest thing at Portland, Seattle, Washington, D.C., New York. We all know these towns run on tunnel systems.
Of course. That's where all the real natural resources of the earth is, like the central sun and how they manipulated it and why they're Saturn worshipers and why they sacrifice children and do all these things. It's to bring the chaos to our earth, to knock it up harmonics. And, I know for a fact, I spoke to this girl when I was still living in Jersey. Her aunt was a nurse on the Comfort or the Mercy, whichever one was in New York. And she confirmed to me, she said, they're bringing thousands of kids out of tunnels and they're mutilated. It's disgusting. Arms are missing, just really, really sad, sick things. And I remember specifically that there was a post that some church or whatever, they set up like little tents or whatever in the middle of Central Park. And there's this picture, and it's of a doctor, and he has like these he's like beaming, like almost military like eyes, and he's staring at the patient in the bed. And I swear to you, Cheney, on the finger of the patient in the bed is the red ring. And I believe that they posted that picture to show us that, we got one of them at least.
And if you don't know what the red ring is, you guys can look up, I think Chet Hanks, you can find a lot of pictures of him with it on. All these people have it on. They say it's like Oprah. Their initiation into like this blood ritual.
Yes.
Yeah. All of it's, and they even represent it to us in our cartoons and stuff growing up. So we have this affinity for it, so they can kind of mock it in our face. But there is definitely
Atlantis.
Yeah.
You ever see the movie Atlantis?
No.
The movie Atlantis, the movie, the Disney movie, the bankers that make fun of Milo for wanting to go to Atlantis, they have a big fat red ring on. It's supposed to be like JP Morgan or whatever. And the red ring is actually based off the Philosopher's Stone, because the Philosopher's Stone is a red rock.
The Philosopher's Stone and the Sword and the Stone, the Ark of the Covenant, like all those. I've been obsessed with those my whole life before I even knew anything about conspiracies. It's that's where I think it's so interesting that they put in the Da Vinci codes the Christ bloodline, because they have to tell us everything. It's part of their karmic, so they don't karmically lock to it. And so Tom Hanks movie, because I think everything attaches to Tom Hanks. He's what the CIA uses to out everything to us. So it's interesting to me, and what I really believe, the Christ bloodline links to King Arthur. King Arthur, that's what the round table protected, was him and his family. I think Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, she's a fucking witch. I think her bloodline, she might have been related to Christ. If she wasn't related to Christ, she might have been carrying the seed of Christ. But she was a bloodline, and I think somewhere as it goes, King Arthur protects it. If you get into nerdier stuff with nowadays with the Mountbattens who became the Windsors, they weren't rightful heirs to that throne. And for some reason, I don't know the magic of this realm, but some things need to exist in certain places for balance or whatever. And the Christ bloodline, for what it is, I think needs to exist in England. And I think the only rightful heir to that Christ bloodline is, if you look into Diana, she was the only one that was linked to it. So they say if she was pregnant with Dode Fayette's kid, that could have been a rightful heir, but Harry might be the only real rightful heir because William's mixed with whatever. It's not like a demon bloodline, but there's dark bloodlines and there's light bloodlines, and so it's mixed with like a darker one, and so that's why for the elite and the royals, they always have pictures of them holding lambs, and it's like their first sacrifice to kind of love this lamb and then kill it. And so they always have pictures of the press with like, you can find these pictures of like young William holding lambs, but you can find old William holding lambs. It's pretty creepy. Yeah, it's Marina Abramovich stuff. But I think Diana, there's something about her light in the same way of JFK Jr., that it doesn't matter who you are on the planet. There was a way you felt about them that you just knew they were good.
Yeah, totally. Totally. They're abundant energy. You can feel that. It's like, what's funny, with the whole Christ thing, like I said before, Donald Trump's great grandmother, Christ, that's her maiden name. You guys could fact check me. Anybody that wants to go look this up. I think her last name is it's Mary McLeod Christ. And
Mary.
How you like that, right? And so this Christ bloodline, like you said, there's a guy, I don't know if you remember him, he popped up early 2020 during COVID, King John III. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
King John III was the actual rightful heir to the Windsors. And that's how the Buckingham Palace got closed down, because he was the rightful heir of all of Wales and all of that, because he has the Christ bloodline. And if you actually really start digging into this stuff, Kennedy, Lincoln, Diana, Elvis, all of them are connected to Trump through bloodline. Like, so like you said, that there's a light force bloodline and then a dark force bloodline. And it goes back to what I said before, the children of Cain and Abel. So, I mean, this rabbit hole, the deeper you go into it, the more you find out this stuff. It all connects and it all makes sense of where we are right now. And it actually has been a battle over timelines, like this is what it really is. And like they wanted to manifest a timeline of doom, right? And that's why I believe that they wrote the Book of Revelations. I believe the Book of Revelations was a timeline insertion that they wanted.
When did you get into the woo-woo and magic of all of it?
Oh, I've been magical my whole life. It's weird. It's like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a magician. Uh-huh. I've always been into like anime, and just like, I always used to tell my mom when I was a kid, I'm going to fly. And like, anytime I go swimming, like when I would spend hours in the water and pools and oceans and everything. And like, I always felt like I was a creature just swimming through the waters. And like, I've told this story too, but like when I was younger, I used to astral travel all the time. And when I was really young, I used to astral travel to my neighbor's house, and it was like a disgusting, like, I can't even explain it, like a butcher shop with bodies all over the place. And like, I would have terrible night terrors where I had to sleep on my mom's floor till I was 14 years old. And at 11 years old, I had a reoccurring dream where I would be flying, and I would fly to this golden city. And I was a photographer at a wedding. And this is why I love pictures. And I remember seeing these beautiful golden castles, and I'd walk out to a beach, and there were sea turtles that were just gigantic sea turtles. So, I mean, I've always kind of had this like esoteric type of connection, and maybe not a full understanding. I started to really look into like the esoteric, surroundings of it all around like 19 years old. That's when I really started getting into like all of like the magic of it, of things. And to bring this up, you know, a lot of people don't understand this. MAGA, if you look up the word MAGA, it's mage. So Trump's a wizard, you know. It's just that he's a wizard on the light side and not the dark side, you know. And like that's what like Q had made many posts about wizards versus warlocks and all of this stuff. So this is a true battle of magic, of timelines, of the mana.
It's also not in wizardry. It's not lost that like you're drawn to gold. But Trump is also drawn to gold. It is a divine masculine metal. It's very soft and malleable in a way that no other precious metals are. And like Trump, look at his top of his tower. He has a golden toilet. He has gold in everything. And if you were to think about meditation or even communication, if telekinetics existed, if I could sit in my gold room and you could sit in your gold room, we could probably communicate. And, you know, it's like back to the Rothschilds, like, and the Tesla even. The big thing with free energy to me wasn't really that they wanted, they gave a shit of how we turned our lights on, because we probably don't even need false lights. We can see in the dark. But they Rothschilds owned all the copper, but copper's not a fucking clean metal for us. It's not like gold and silver. And we know all our computers and all of our phones, if we were to really break them all apart, the real conductivity in them is the gold and silver. And silver is the most conductive metal on the planet. So it's like Trump being a wizard. He's into gold, sun worship, the sun, which is the divine. It's the gold. It's all part of the one thing. The opposite of that, the divine feminine, is silver. It's moon energy. It's dolphin. It's the most reflective of the moon. It's cold metal. It doesn't melt as easy as gold. It has a different whole property, both conductive, both so important in all our human history for us to have. And so I think it's a really more of a spell or something with the alchemy of gold and silver. And there must be a lot of it in the United States, more than in the Fort Knox, more than in the House of Sod, more than the Vatican. We must have a lot in our pockets because they put it in our change and dispersed it everywhere. And your grandfather would give you a roll of nickels and be like, save this. You know, like everyone has in their house, or even the lead in our bullets and guns, iron, female, Fe. You know, it's like we have these things that I think precious metals are distributed and they have spells on them. The monuments they're trying to tear down, our Capitol buildings are all made with these precious metals. Some of them are plated in gold. I think Denver's is actually painted in gold. And Denver, like all the conspiracies attached now at this point. But I think these precious metals, it's the thing I'm really into the most, I think, of 2021 is really delving into, because they seem to be important throughout time. The Egyptians,
super important. Yeah, capstones, the pyramids. I think, you know, you hit it on the head, basically. You know, like these metals are so precious, and I feel like they do come from the sun and the moon. I feel like that's the alchemy of it all, is that, you know, the way that we get these things from the earth is because of the sun and the moon. Now let's take this even further. I believe that there's actual gold and silver that runs through our body. You know, I believe that. But we have to alchemize it. And I think that's what has to do with the Philosopher's Stone. I think that has to do with why the Anunnakis ate gold. I think that they used the Philosopher's Stone on untainted blood. Because if you think about it, right, a child to them is the best thing to sacrifice because it's untainted, right? It's untainted blood. So if they can, let's just say, you know, this is just my little theory on this. Let's just say that they can turn blood into gold. Wouldn't it make more sense of why the Anunnakis ate gold and why they had the Philosopher's Stone and why there's iron in our blood, right? There's like, it's literally all there.
I like to put everything back to fairy tales and biblical stories and whatever. So Rumpelstiltskin is all Bingo. He goes and he's like, hey, you can make this fucking hay into gold. You can make this hay into gold. And then what happens? She pricks her fucking finger and bleeds on it. And that's when the whole spell, and I think she falls asleep for however long until true love comes. But it is kind of, they put it right in there too. They're like, once she has the blood, and then, oh, look at gold hay.
we are literally gold. We are literally silver. And, that's masculine, feminine, like you said, like if gold is masculine and silver is feminine, then that runs through our body already. It's like, it's just that we have been literally poisoned with all of this shit that they put in our food and our water and our air and the knowledge that they've hidden from us. It's like, but to really understand ascension and to understand why the Egyptians were so obsessed with turning themselves gold. And there's actual Q posts about why did they choose to become gold and what does turning gold mean? And it's because it's our blood. It's the manna of heaven that God gave to us, and I truly believe that hopefully this is a hopefully situation, because there's so many more things that we have to get through to before we get to this, but hopefully one day people will actually understand who they are and their true being, that you are fucking such a divine, beautiful, powerful, amazing energy that God created with perfect precision and no mistake. And they lied to you and they made you feel like shit and they made you feel so much lower than you actually are. And I pray and I hope and I manifest one day that all that will come out.
Yeah, I think it is. I like Kara Mosher said, I resonate on the highest possible timeline. So if you're hearing me right now, so do you. And I think that about right now, I resonate on that. I win this time. God wins this time. Only love wins this timeline. I chose to come back to deal with all the bullshit and live through the New World Order only if we win this time. It was like my agreement on my contract but I am not playing in a doomer world, and I'm especially not playing in a doomer world where all the doomers and black pills I know are literally doing nothing. They're not in their local community doing nothing. They're still putting on fucking masks to go to the store. They're not like, they don't want to be uncomforted at all. They just want to sit and just be miserable about it. But it makes me like, that's just who they are in life. They're just like adding that blackness and darkness. Like they're helping do the elite's job for them. Like, yep, we're hopeless. We're not going to win. You might as well just put your head back in the ground like ostrich. Stick your head back in the sand.
It's that they're becoming Agent Smiths and they don't even realize it, and I the message that I have for the black pillars and the doomers listening right now, please listen. Death is inevitable. Okay. The past is gone. The future might not ever come. You only have this moment. So you freaking out about what could happen or what ifs, they might not ever happen. So maybe some of the most beautiful things that you couldn't even imagine fathomable will happen. Then what are you going to do? You lived in this depressed moment. You didn't work on yourself. You didn't obtain knowledge. You didn't, love the moment and have gratitude for it. And then, you're going to be a little bit behind. You're still going to catch up to us, but you're just going to be a little bit further behind. So instead of living in this moment of fear and doom and, oh, what if this happens or what if that happens? You're going to die no matter what. So, either a meteor could come down and hit me right now. A fucking ninja could do a backflip and cut my head off. I still lived in this moment happy. You know what I mean?
I think it's so crazy how we can all talk about the Illuminati and the Masons and the House of Sod and the Catholic Church and the Saturnalia of it all. We can talk about all this stuff, but it is not fathomable for us to think about there was a secret society of good guys. Like, it's so crazy.
How does that work?
Like, there wasn't just the right group. We're all good guys. Could we have kept it a secret long enough? Like, to not tell them we know? I think so. So
of course,
it's like there has to be that too. I also, if I were to write a movie about it, if we had a secret society of good guys, the way we'd keep our secret society safe is in plain sight, and we couldn't litter them with people with guns following them everywhere. So we'd litter them with paparazzi. So it's funny to me, like people like Princess Diana, JFK, always had paparazzi around them. They almost made the paparazzi cool to follow people because they followed them so much. Trump followed him all the time by paparazzi. But then I think of other people that they've made it a really big deal of, like the Britney Spears of it all, the Justin Timberlakes, that you're like, there has to be infiltrators everywhere. And you can list a whole bunch of stuff of like, well, maybe Trump did this, maybe, Trump did that, whoever else people say are white hats, gray hats, whatever. You have to learn how to crawl on your belly if you want to take down the snakes. Like,
Oh yeah.
you have to, it's the rush of it all, like the whole movie Rush. Like, if we're going to take down the drug kingpin, we might accidentally do heroin one night to stay undercover. It's
Totally.
just like,
Totally.
I hope
But
it
I don't
wasn't
think
a
Trump
dream
ever
film.
like killed it. Yeah, I don't think he ever did that. I really don't. I think, you know, like with the whole, like, you could literally see like the Jeffrey Epstein situation where people are like, oh, him and Trump are best friends. Like, no, they fucking weren't. Like, he literally kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He literally set up the first arrest.
Mhm.
He worked with the feds, and he worked with the DA to
He was
arrest
the only
him.
one to call the Palm Beach Police Department. He was like the only person of name to be like, hey, this guy's a creep.
Exactly. And like, there's that infamous picture that people post. There's a video where Trump literally like makes the swirl and then points at Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine. So it's like, he was always, like I said, he was just always there. He inserted himself there. And then, you know, you go back to everything that we talked about, the bloodlines and the families and all this stuff. Like you said, this secret society of good guys were always working in the middle, and nobody was able to even tell. You know, that's why they really fucking hate him, is because they thought that they were friends. You know,
That's
him and
the other.
Hillary.
Yeah, really, Hillary thought that Trump was going to fold for her. She helped Trump get voted in because, and that's what I saw happening too. That was the only moment I really hated Trump. There was like this year where I felt like this bitch is helping this motherfucker get in so she can walk into the presidency. And then the New World Order that all the doomers thought or still think is happening, I thought shit was going to unfold. If Hillary walked into the White House, I thought
Over.
Game over. Like, I was ready to expat. I was getting the fuck out of America. And
Costa
now,
Rica.
knowing what I know about the world, holy shit, I thought there would have been a safe place in the world. Now knowing, no, there wasn't really a safe place in the world. They'd lock that shit down quick. The whole entire world. That should scare the shit out of everyone. They locked down the whole world in like 3 months.
That's the power that they have. But I think that, like, you know, it goes back to the situation where I said, I think COVID was used to be able to do this operation. You know, you had Defender Europe 2020. That was all happening during COVID. That's when they got Merkel, Macron, all these people. And one of the main things, you know, you said you watched the Trump pressers and all that stuff. One of the main things Trump would always say, you have to show the people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show the people. You have to show the people. It's like he, like you said, gave Pence, Fauci, Birx this power. People didn't even know who fucking Dr. Fauci was. Nobody knew that guy was. They were like, who the fuck is this guy?
If you weren't a gay top that's about 60 years old, you didn't know who Dr. Fauci was.
Yeah, with the AIDS stuff.
Yeah, like that's where it's, if you really go down to like Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors, there's like a gay male community there. And if they're a gay male over 50 years old, they're all like, fuck Fauci. They can't say it in this liberal, but they all lost, like when they were in their 20s, there was 25 of them in their group of friends. They're the last living member that didn't die of AIDS. Was like a real genocide. And if you really think of the divine feminine, not because they're gay, but just the arts they represented, a lot of them, painters, playwrights, musicians, all this, it really was a divine feminine pull off America that they did with the women too. They did it 10 years before when they were like, get out of the house, go to work. You all want to be men. Fuck your kids. They'll be fine. You know, after school programs, blah, blah, blah. And everybody has to work. And at the same time in China, they did the one family rule or one kid per family rule. And everybody was like murdering and selling their daughters into slavery or forcing them to dress as men so that they could pretend in society they were a boy. So they took the divine feminine in the same like 20-year period of time across the whole planet. They just ripped it off. And in Iran, Afghanistan, they were making women cover themselves. So it was taking all that beauty off the planet at the same time. And so it was almost like not a divine masculine run wild, but like the worst parts of our feminine and masculine were forcing to come out. So it was like, oh, you're covering those women up? I'm going to show my snatch off with the shortest shorts you've ever seen. It became this like opposite thing where like, no, this isn't the most feminine thing you could do. This is what they're telling you is feminine now. Blow your ass up to this big, blow your tits up to this big, blow your lips up to this big. And then men thought like, here, I'll pump my muscles up and beat the shit out of things. You know, it became these two kind of gross things that we weren't like using our divine masculine to protect our divine feminine and our divine feminine to like heal the world. It was like we became fighting each other about it.
It's inversion. Like you said, it's an inversion. That's what they do. It's like they want us to worship the root chakra. I call it Kundalini, right? That's why they're Kumers. They want us to worship this root chakra. That's why porn is so rampant. You know, that they want to literally desensitize our minds to the sickness that they believe in. And like you said, they invert it all. You know, we're supposed to be going up to 33 vertebrae up to here, not down there. They don't, you know, once you worship there.
That's why the MAGA hat's red. I've always said that. He wants the color red on our heads for a fucking reason. Like he wants that. Yeah, he wants to turn that. But they might have inverted the chakras at the beginning of time, that we have them all going the opposite direction. But that red on the head is really important. Like there's a reason, and it fucking triggers the demon in people. It is the most punk rock thing you can do. I don't know why, but put on that "Make America Great Again" hat, and it will trigger the demon in people.
Totally. Like you said, they could have flipped it at some point. Nobody, like, that's what's the fucked up thing about it of all. You know, and what I like to say is, like, you know, you can read as many books as you want, you can watch as many videos as you want, until you really start practicing like that astral travel and that real manifestation and bringing things into the timeline and doing these things. I don't care if you're like have 500 scholars or this or that. If you're not doing it, you're not proving it. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe sometimes I do this off of mistakes. I don't know, but I know what I've done and what I've seen and the places that I've gone and things that that I've witnessed, that shows that we have these abilities and we have these powers, and God literally inserted this into our lives, you know? And it's like, you can literally search your entire life looking for it in books and videos and all this stuff. Go inside, homie. Go inside. That's
why I tell everyone, stop fearing that you're not going to find the right book or teacher. You have all the answers. If they light every Library of Alexandria on fire, we will eventually come to the truth again. They can't keep it from us. It's kind of the same as this internet, and I feel like a lot of people in 2020, because of the cells we've all been trapped in, they were kind of forced to get authentic and real with themselves for the first time ever, making relationships online. And all of a sudden, it was a forced, there might have been relationships that were made and times that it totally went through the root chakra. But if they made it the longevity, if those relationships, if you made it past that root chakra point of like, whoa, this person's igniting all my chakras right now, I am so turned on in every way.
Kundalini.
Yeah, if you could really do that, these internet relationships, and feel each other's energy, those friendships are the ones that you're like, holy shit. This person, and maybe we traveled together before, but we were always right next to each other, and we fucked it up because of our root chakra. But because of the internet distance, it's like, we weren't able to fuck it up this time, and now we have a real friendship.
Exactly. I totally believe in that, because I have a couple situations like that, you know, where it's like, I know I have past lives with these people, you know, it's like, I could feel it. It's like, sometimes I'll even get a memory or like a flash, or like their energy just feels so like something present, that I already know. Familiar. Yeah. It's like, I already know it, you know? And it's like, you know, not to really go into this too deeply, but I was one of those huge root chakra worshipers, you know, like I was a whore. I'll just come out and flat out say it. Like, since I was a little boy, I lost my virginity at 12 years old.
I was a slut. Slut. I was like, and it was kind of the most amount of slutty fun, because it was like, as a girl, I'm like, oh, I can be bisexual. I can just sleep with everybody.
Yeah. I didn't go down that route, but I slept with a lot of women, and you know, I'm not proud of it. You know, it's like, it's actually something I'm just like, fuck, why did I give this energy to some of these people? You know, like sometimes like I'll just think about that, and like I just remember like, you know, after you get your nut or whatever, and it's like, I just want this person to fuck away from me. Yeah. You know, I do the kitchen ditching, like, what do you got to do tomorrow? You know, I got this, and this, like anything to get this person away from me, because it's like, I gave into that. You know what I mean? It's like, why did I do this? You know, it's like, and that's like porn too. It's like,
drug fix.
Yeah, dude. Straight up. It's
Once
like you watch
get fixed,
porn.
you have all that shame afterward. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, dude.
Or if you're gouge on food, you're like, why did I just eat a whole bag of Cheetos or whatever?
Yeah, dude.
You know, it's like that
it's an addiction.
Fuck. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you throw your fucking phone, like, what am I watching? Like, what kind of sickness what's wrong with me? You know? And it's like, that's that root chakra worship that they want you to have. They want you to just fuck everybody and, you know, throw them to the side instead of building, like you said, that connection, that real Kundalini energy. Cause like, you know, like when you have that Kundalini sex where it's like, you're really connected to that person and you guys are having like this serious energy transfer, it feels a lot different. You know, like I was just a hunter. Like I was just like, oh, do I got it? Like, can I fuck this lady? Like, and then like I started to get like really sick. I was just like, oh, she has a husband. Now I really want to fuck her. Like, or she has a boyfriend. Like like it became such a sport to me. And it's like, that's what really tainted me, you know? And then you add the drugs and everything else on top of it. And it's like, I was just a vessel at that point. You know, I wasn't really in the flow of who I'm supposed to be. And that's what I changed about myself. And it was like, I watched me develop into this thing that, you know, my teachers, even my family members told me I can never be, you know. And it's like once you really truly take that power back, there's no going backwards, you know. Like there's no going backwards. Like, am I still tempted? Like, do girls like DM me and like try to throw themselves at me? And I'm like, yeah, I won't lie, I'll keep it real. But do I go through with it? Nah, I don't.
Is it like, aren't you so much deeper now? So for someone to intrigue you, it's like, it could have been one thing for somebody to intrigue your fucking dick before, but now they have to light up so many of your other chakras for your dick to even get turned on that you're like, meh. Like, I could do this, I could go through with this, and then it's also as a consequence, like the same way of like, yeah, I could go out and get wasted every night, but I don't want to be hungover every day. It's like you have the whole spiritual consequence of it too, that you're like, I don't want to go through with that anymore. It doesn't feel the same.
Totally.
I was gonna say too, energetically, if we stop thinking about our root chakras all the time, if this really is energy play and the distance doesn't matter and all that, what is it like if you can just work your power through the palms of your hand in such a way that you could sit across from someone, crisscross applesauce, and not even touch, but you could feel the energy between you in such a way that it would be orgasmic in a way that you wouldn't even fucking ever fathom before.
Totally.
I think these next levels exist, but we don't know about them yet because we're still like programmed to go through all the other things. I think it's all the lights light up at once. That's how I think like Mary had Jesus, if that story exists. She was all lit up and then she created life inside herself.
I love that. Yeah, it's totally true. It's like, not to be cliche, but it's like that movie 40 Days and 40 Nights, where he like makes, I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but he like makes the girl like have an orgasm with just the flower, you know. It's like, because when you're connected like that, it is orgasmic, you know what I mean? Like you could just, like you could have a conversation with somebody that you can't have with anybody else, or you feel this like divinity between two people or whatever, like, you know, like it's almost like 5D type of sex, you know. And it's like, that's next level, like you said. It's like, and we have that about us, and it's like, you know, one of the biggest issues is this right here, you know. It's like we are being tempted all day long, you know. You got these dating sites that you're just like fucking, you're flipping through 100 girls in a minute, and it's like, obviously you're not going to build a connection.
You could go meet up with them right now too. So it's like somewhere in you, do you have to make the connection anymore? It's like almost like you're constantly being pulled down to this lowest level, and it's intentional to have to constantly fight to build real connection with people.
Totally. I mean, it happens fast.
Maybe more dangerous than our root chakras with like porn and everything. I think like when they've locked us everybody in these cells, and then free porn, anytime anything's free, you're the product. So they have this free porn, and around the outskirts of all the porn now is shit that you're not into. You're not even aware you're watching it. You're watching the middle video, but it's going into your subconscious. But all the shit around the edge is a little freakier than the shit you're watching. So next time you go to look up for porn, you have a freakier thing on the video and freakier shit around the edge, and you're constantly just edging perversity in your head. So now you've broken your own imagination and you're unable to create that, which it's not in a sexual way at all, but I think one of the way that the elites have just broken us in general is our imagination, because without that, we can't manifest a bigger future than highways and buildings or whatever mortgages and bill lifestyle we're all living in. So they break our imagination. But I think sexually, if I can't fucking worship and think about like every fiber of my fingertip touching every hair on your small of your back, if I can't imagine that and floating through clouds and our bodies are weightless or whatever, how could I ever energy transfer the pure amount of energy that I'm picturing? Because everything in my head's tainted with this like fucking 2 girls 1 cup shit that I know we're all Mr. Hands over here. I'm like, why do we all have that in our head? Why do we all know what that is?
Yeah, dude, because it takes the passion away. You know, that's the main thing. It takes the passion away, and it like you said, it gets disgustinger, and you know, like it's like all of a sudden they're like, what the fuck? I'm watching a gangbang or whatever, you know, and you're just like fucking throw your phone. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with me? You know, and it's like a buildup, and I feel like that buildup is actually a way to like create a perversion for people to be okay with pedophilia. You know what I mean? Like, because then it's like, oh, you know, you're watching Lolita or like this young hot like whatever. Like, not that I watch that. I like MILF porn when I watch porn, but you know, that's what they do though. They try to like throw this like younger and younger girls into your face. The pigtails, the little schoolgirl outfit. It's like, whoa,
even if
what's
she's
going
25,
on here?
they were like, she's a 14-year-old stepdaughter. Everything's incest porn too. Like that's the big like weird thing. And I'm like, whoa, they've just, when we were kids, you had to find a catalog that now those same pictures in the catalog of bra and underwear or some shit, or maybe you found an old Playboy or maybe a Penthouse if it went next level. You still had to imagine most of it. And sometimes in the Playboy or the Penthouse, I remember when I first saw one of those, I was fucking horrified. I'm a girl and I was horrified. I was like, this is way too much of inside a woman's body. Like I am horrified at this.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Holy shit.
Totally.
I also, my mom was, she was a midwife for a long time when I was a kid. So like the first time I ever really saw a vagina a bunch, it was giving birth, which I think that's, I don't know. I know it's the most normal thing ever. And I wonder how much kids would be around if we were in a village setting during birth to see it and witness it and just think it was normal. But it definitely gave me an interesting view of sex from a young age. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of consequences in that.
Dude, I remember like being so young and like, we had to like watch like channels that were just like staticky. And it's like, oh my God, did I just see a nipple? Like, because it was just like so, HBO. Yeah, dude, it was so hidden. It wasn't like now these kids are just like donkey fucking woman. Like, you know,
anything
it's just
they
like,
want to look up.
It's fucked up. It's really fucked up. Like even like Instagram, like, you know, when I was in like high school or middle school, like I had MySpace, right? Like MySpace was the thing or whatever. Like now, like if I had an Instagram when I was like a horny ass kid like that, I would have fucked the whole school. I'd have just been in girls' DMs all day long. Oh, meet me over here, meet me over there. You know, it's like these kids are like being super over sexualized for that reason, like you said, to take away the imagination, to take away the passion, to make men more beta. Because after you get that nut or whatever, when you're watching porn, it literally lowers your testosterone. Like it makes you weaker. It takes away the lactate. Like there's so many different things. Like if you actually look into it, that it fucks up your subconscious and it makes you feel like shit about yourself. And I feel like it's a spiral down type of thing. You know, it's like, okay, you start watching porn, you feel shit about yourself. You don't take care of yourself. You don't work out. You don't read books because you're always going back for that fix. It's like drugs. It's like,
it's the same way if you're a fat fatty and you're opening your fridge every fucking 15 minutes that your body I want something sweet. I want something salty. I want. It's like there has to be some intentional self-control. And if you're one of the fucking, every time your body sits for 60 seconds and you just stare off at the beautiful sky or out a window or just maybe daydream, grab your phone and look at your Instagram, grab your fucking phone and look at your Twitter, it's like we're so triggered for these impulses, and we live in this world now of like every impulse can be fed by our phone. Play your Candy Crush, you know, like everything's just so triggering to our serotonin levels, our dopamine levels. And they knew all this shit. They knew we were going to be little addicts, little monkey addicts, that we do shitty little games like Candy Crush and waste 8 real hours of our real life.
Fuck Candy Crush.
Even we all grew up as sim kids. Did you ever like end up in your Sims and you're like, oh, perfect, my Sim's a doctor. And then you thought, oh shit, that took me like 80,000 real hours. I could be a doctor.
Totally. And that's why they created that shit, dude. And it's like, you know, for perfect example, you know, most people have iPhones. Dude, you got the fucking bitten apple right there. They're not hiding it. You know what I mean? Like, they're showing you the temptation is there. They know for a fact that's what it is. You know, if let's, like you said, you're a fat person, you go on Instagram, you see in a fucking burger this big, you're like, it's like, you know, it's like when you go on Instagram, you see an Instagram OnlyFans type of chick and her fucking assholes basically sticking out through a thong. Yep. It's like
they know you. They know your trigger.
They're tempting you completely. It's like, we need to break that cycle though. You know, it's like I spend a lot of time on my phone, but it's just like to post and like to get this information out to people. But I spend a lot of time in nature. I spend a lot of time with my family. I spend a lot of time in meditation. I spend a lot of time in my books, in my studies. And that is the key to not becoming a fucking avatar, because that's what they want you to be. They want you to be an avatar. They want you to be this fake version of yourself. They don't want you to become that doctor. They want you stuck in that Sims world. And we need to break that. We need to take a fucking break once in a while. When you wake up in the morning, don't grab your phone. Don't grab your phone.
Agree.
Spend an hour with reality. Spend an hour, stretch a little bit, put on some music, make yourself a cup of coffee, go sit outside, whatever the fuck you do, make a ritual. If you go out
with your friends or fucking family, don't put your phone on the table. Don't be rude.
Pocket.
Like, don't have that shit around you. Have some time in your life without it. I like that Prince did that interview forever ago where he's like, there's something about the ghetto. They come and they chemtrail and spray something over it, and then everyone's fighting. Yeah, what if it's not dust? What if it's a frequency coming out of our phone all the time that we don't even hear? And they know on Thanksgiving, and they're sending out that frequency. They want you fighting with your aunt about some stupid shit that doesn't matter today and ruin the whole thing. And now there's an energy floating through the air. Like, what if they're putting that energy through the air? But we all always have these phones. We all always have to have it on us. And it isn't the microchip yet. We're lucky if the tests, I just always think that tests are where they start putting the nanotech. I'm like, everything's about free will, everything. So
yeah,
they won't ever hold you down and stick that needle in you. You will be like, what? I'm going to lose my travel? What? I'm not going to be able to go to my favorite grocery store? Okay, give it to me. Okay. That's how I feel about the masks. It was never a law. It was always your free will to put that mask on, no matter what state you lived in. Well, they wouldn't let me shop at that grocery. Maybe there was a grocery. Maybe there was a way. It might have taken you 2 more hours to figure out how to do it, but the free will of it all was always ours to be had. And that's something they want. I don't know if it's just the loosh of it all. We're the perfect battery for them too. I think
it is.
You're onto something with the blood and the adrenochrome, and that's such a feast for them. But they're also something about our energy is so delicious to them. It's so, and when we're scared, that is the most delicious.
They don't want you happy.
Out of us. No, love is repulsive to them.
They hate it. It kills them. If we were all on a love frequency, on this higher vibration, there would be no reptiles. They wouldn't be able to survive. They have to feed off of our negativity. They have to feed off our misery. That, like you said, we're batteries to them, but only we're batteries to them as a low frequency. Because as soon as we flip that script on them and we realize that there's no such thing as anxiety, there's no such thing as depression, there's no such thing as any of this shit, and we could actually fucking heal ourselves, and we learn all that shit, they're done. It's over. There didn't have to be a Q. There didn't have to be a president. There didn't have to be a cop. There didn't have to be money. And once people really start living in a conscious understanding of your highest love vibration, all of this shit falls apart. We don't need any of it. This was all created by the Jesuits because they knew that they needed this to control us, to keep us away from that high love vibration. Because as soon as we figured that out, it was over for them.
And it's always been about vibes and frequencies. It's always been about sound. I think that's how we built the pyramids. I think that's how
Totally.
I just think we could probably like, and then fucking rocks float over there. We
Yeah,
just don't know how to
totally.
do it. We have no belief in it. I believe in the law of observation is that once you observe something, it becomes real. That's how manifestation works.
Totally.
And that's how our powers work. And I was talking to, uh, shit who a tarot like an energy healer, and they were like psychics unlock psychics, healers unlock healers,
Totally.
and I do believe that, and that's why that the fact that we're all being authentic enough to be like, hey, I'm having these experiences, hey, I'm having these visions, hey, I'm having these thoughts, hey, I don't know you, but I have a real connection to you. I'm going to tell you all these weird, authentic synchronicities that we have, even though it feels peculiar and you may think I'm crazy. That is the world we have to live in right now. That's how we have to remind each other
Completely.
and validate to each other that no, this is real. You're powerful. This is all really happening.
Exactly. No, I mean that's a beautiful thing to say, that we're basically the key to these other people's locks. It's like once we show them that, we're a testimony, that's the best word to use, that we're a testimony. It makes them realize that they are too. It makes them realize that, whoa, if this guy could do it or this girl could do it, why can't I do it? Like we're all the same basically, right? Like we all bleed the same blood at the end of the day. Why can't I do this stuff? And it really does. It starts that trigger where they start to really understand. It's like, why I say I control the timeline or we control the timeline or all this stuff. It's to make people realize that you fucking do. You can manifest these things. You are their biggest enemy because they don't want you to know this information. They want you to be like, I'm going to manifest the news. I'm going to manifest the book of Revelations. I'm going to manifest the negative energy that they've placed into our minds, and not manifest the golden timeline or the storm or whatever. Because at the end of the day, we're the storm. People are waiting for the storm, and we are the fucking storm.
Yeah, human vibration says we're creatures. They call us creatures because we create. They can't create. We create. And so they show us all this TV and this doom and gloom, so we'll manifest it for ourselves. They want us to manifest our own reality because we're the creators. And I think that's a really true thing. They have no power. Like they don't, even the terrorist shit, like even the doom and gloom we see, we've created all that too because they have no imagination. They're just cold-blooded. Like I like the lizard, the reptilian of it all. It's just easy to kind of blanket it all into that statement, but something's really special about humans. They're attached in a way like you'll run in a burning house for a kitten. Not every
Yeah.
other species will do that. There's
No,
something special about us.
of course. It's called compassion.
Yeah.
And, some people don't have it, which is sad, but, everybody does have it. It's just that they've blocked it. A lot of people, to get into the shadow work of it, they're being locked down by these traumas and these situations that have happened to them, and they're living in their past. And you have to realize something, that the more that you hold on to that, the more you're anchoring yourself down, and the colder you're becoming, and the more in your reptilian mind that you are, and you're not evolving. And they want you to stay in that, I'm sad because, whatever happened to me when I was 5 years old, or, I lost this job, and you're holding on to that. And that's a negative energy. And that's what creates the anxiety of it, and the depression of it, is that you're holding on to these things. And it's like, why the fuck are you doing that? Like, they're gone. It's gone. It's done. Let it go. Just let it go.
Let it
You're gonna
go.
be so much better without that fucking anchor holding you down. That toxic energy that is just literally holding you down. When you're meant to fly, you're meant to float.
What has been the worst part about living through the biggest psyop of all time?
The normies, honestly, like just dealing with them on a daily basis, the doomers, the black pillars, just always constant friction, and it's like, I'm trying to show you the light, and you're using every single Agent Smith fucking ability that you have to block that out. And I would say that's the hardest part. Like, I'd rather go fucking fight Hillary Clinton with lightsabers than to deal with these people, honestly.
What's that? Because you at least feel like you can kill Hillary Clinton with the lightsaber. You're like, oh, I'll feel totally righteous about
Yes.
this. With the other idiots, you're like, I have to love you. Why is this mirror to me right now?
Yes.
What's
that's the hardest
best part about living through like the biggest psyop of all time?
Honestly, my freedom, my freedom, you know, like because I was that person, you know, when I talk about shadow work, it's because I lived through it. You know, I had to let go of my traumas. I had to let go of my ego. I had to change who I was as a person. And I feel like this psyop allowed me to do that, you know, because I finally had the people that understand me surrounding me. You know, it's like when you're by yourself for so long, it's easy to hold on to hate. It's easy to hold on to animosity. It's easy to cling on to that ego. But, you know, when you really start to meet people that are in that vibration of higher understanding and love, it's easy to let go of it. So I would say my freedom of my soul.
That's awesome. Do you have internet friends that you've met over the past like 2 years that you feel like I'm going to know this motherfucker for my whole life, or like, or lifetimes beyond or lifetimes past, like connections made bigger than flesh?
Oh yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, amazing people that I've met through this, and, you know, we're all in this together. And, you know, one day we're all going to be I just see it. We're sitting around a big table, eating chicken legs and drinking wine and just enjoying the true nature of the way that things were supposed to be for a very long time. And, you know, shout out to everybody that's on this path right now. And, you know, hopefully that, you know, some of your audience, like you said, you might have some people that don't like Q or black pillars or doomers or whatever. Hopefully this helped you, you know, hopefully, you know, you can really start to dig into what we laid out forth for you, you know?
Yeah, I think it's, you have to believe it. You have to really believe it and just know that we're meant for great things, and everything from the poison and everything you drink, eat, watch, see, fuck, how powerful are you if this is all the shit they have to do to make you not realize it?
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
every single thing of every pore in your fucking body is meant to try to make you realize how what a piece of shit you are. You're just worthless. They want you to be addicted to everything bad for you. And I don't know. It must mean you're pretty fucking special.
Totally. We're divine beings of higher consciousness and light, and we are created of the creator. And that's what they don't want you to understand. You know, they want you to believe that you live in sin and filth and you're lower than them and they're the elite or the 1%, because they're fucking scared of us. They're scared of us. That's why they do what they do. We shouldn't be scared of them. We shouldn't have doom or fear, because that gives them power. They're scared of our love. They're scared of our connection. They're scared of all of that. That's why they created divide and conquer. That's why they created these fake race wars and all the shit that they have, because they don't want us to be under that love connection. Why do you think when they created the COVID rules, they said we have to be 6 feet apart? Because the magnetism of our heart doesn't connect at 6 feet apart. They don't want us to love each other.
I think it's ritual to the 666 feet apart for them is Set, the Great Reset, and Seth is like their god of doom. I think he's like the aardvark is Set. I might be wrong, but
no, you're right.
Yeah, and the
Ra versus Set.
To chant for Set, to call him, you would chant "No justice, no peace" on your knee. You'd take a knee and chant "No justice, no peace." And black and Black Lives Matter would be his color of darkness coming in. So it's just interesting. You can see that whole thing set up for us with a great reset, like a big deathing of us. Everything's ritual.
Oh yeah, totally. Black cubes all over.
I actually, even like Jesuits, the house of every religion, I could just see the black cube in. I think the black cube's at the top of every single one. If you unfold the cross, or fold it back together, it's a black cube. If you twist you know, the Star of David back together, it's a black cube. Muslim don't even care. The House of Saud's like, we're going to put the black cube right in the only country named after our family on the whole planet. There's no other country named after a family like the House of Saud. And every Muslim on the entire fucking planet has to send energy to that cube when they pray. That is so fucking crazy. It's just, and, you know, even Ron L. Hubbard and Mormonism, and they all are attached to Black Cube. And Saturn somehow. And it's weird, even if you're just right here in the third dimension, that you can look through the cheapest telescope and you cannot see Mars through it. You cannot see Venus through it, but you can see Saturn clear as day through that bitch. And that is weird.
Oh, yeah. If you think about it, it's like, when they created Rome, for example, Rome was the city of Saturn, that they're not hiding it, because the Canaanites, what they did is they worshiped Saturn. That was their sun, right? That's because they didn't want us to worship the holiest of the holies, which is the actual sun, right? They wanted us to worship Saturn because Saturn is known as that chaos energy, and it's okay to kill, and it's okay to drink blood, and chronos of it all, and time and 4D of it all. And that's what they wanted to place on us. And what they're still trying so fucking hard to do. That's
what's been the biggest surprise to you of like 2021? What's just floored you or shocked you?
I think honestly, just how many people are actually responding to this now. How many people are actually like waking up and really, starting to walk in their divinity and break through these spells and these chains. It's like I said, back in 2005 or whatever, I never thought that was going to happen. I didn't think that people were going to do, never. Ever.
I really thought Costa Rica. I was like, I'm going to end up in Costa Rica too.
We would have ran into each other.
Yeah, I just thought I was going to be an expat in Costa Rica one day.
Yeah, me too.
Daydream. Sometimes we know all these white hats we talk about, the General Flynn and Trump and people. I daydream that there has to be acting black hats, right? Or acting white hats right now that we think are black hats. And those are going to be the real badasses, aren't going to be the Trumps that stood in front of us playing his character the whole time. It's going to be the idea of if Nancy Pelosi's an actual white hat and she sat there for the last 30 years pretending she was a snake because she's involved in California politics. She's been in the House for so long. I daydream about certain people. What if the one bad person you could pluck, like Hillary Clinton, does she know enough to be the one card to make the whole thing crumble down? Do you think there's any black hats that are maybe good guys?
Oh, totally. A lot of people are still after Bill Barr. I think Bill Barr's a good guy. I think that he's a sleeper for sure. I don't know about Nancy, because Nancy Pelosi's
such a dirtbag. I don't mean her. Yeah. So gross. She's so gross.
She's connected to the Orsinis. So yeah,
she's so gross. Old crime family. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But let me see here. Who can I say? Maybe Mitch McConnell. He might be a sleeper. There's definitely some people that people are like, oh, this guy's a black hat, or this person's a black hat, that I agree are sleepers. Even Elon Musk, like, who the fuck knows with that guy?
Kanye,
he's a little
still. If Kanye is a gray hat, then the Kardashians have to be gray hats. It all has to connect, because they have this weird thing through Hollywood that Kris is their only manager. She never let any of her kids get involved in that other hoopla. Because I look at the demonization of certain people, like we've even discussed, like Michael Jackson. I think certain people that the media demonizes, the Trump of it all, might be good guys. So I really wonder what the whole O.J. Simpson, that was such a big looshing of all of us with the whole O.J. Simpson trial and everything it did. We all watched it, the white Bronco of it, and the Kardashians being attached to that, like their Robert being right in the mix of that. I almost just wonder, there's certain Hollywood people, even Britney, like, is Britney a gray hat? Is Britney, even the free Britney of it all, proof, like Trump sitting ringside at the UFC, that the cabal's dead? Because this is never supposed to happen, that Britney's free. Exactly. So I wonder if there's these little proofs coming at every end, because it's not just going to be, hey, you guys, guess what? Here's all the WikiLeaks. Julian Assange is going to stand up for Trump against the Twitter battle, and that's how it's really going to all unfold. No. That might happen on one side, but Hollywood also has to have this whole big telling. And if Britney were able to speak, you unplug Disney, you unplug all the pedophilia shit we're talking about, you unplug Michael, you unplug, it's like what she attaches to is a big, huge shatter if she's ever allowed to speak.
Totally. I have a feeling that, at the end of this movie, that there's going to be credits, and we're going to see who's who and what's what, and who was gray hat, black hat, white hat, and they're gonna have credits on it. And you know, I had like this little vision. What if fucking Lynn Wood becomes Britney Spears' attorney, because now she could have her own attorney?
Sidney Powell.
Yo, dude, how crazy?
Damn, you took it to the next level.
It's inserted in the timeline. It's inserted in the timeline.
That takes it to the next fucking level.
Yo, you never know. You never fucking know. I mean, honestly, you never know.
Part of another reason that I wanted to have you on is because it will be over my dead body that all the conspiracy theorists and all the Anons and all the people that have really had to be the outside black sheep weirdos standing alone forever to finally all find each other on the internet, to all not get to celebrate together at the end. And we're getting too close to the end of this fucking movie to not all be able to sit with a Corona on the beach and be like,
oh yeah,
when the world's freaking out will be when we're like, finally, I can sit back. Like the news is doing the job like that we have been trying to do for the last however many years.
Totally. We're going to party. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be many parties.
Be that way. It has to be that way.
Many parties.
Yeah. I don't know.
We're at the precipice. We're definitely at the precipice. I mean, I'll tell you that, you know, for the people that don't see these things that are happening, I mean, I could pretty much call the timeline for what it is right now. I believe, you know, that Trump will be back in August. I totally believe that. We're seeing the way that the audits are going right now. I believe he'll be back in August. I believe around July 29th, there's going to be a major drop with all the Crossfire Hurricane and Durham stuff. All that's going to come out. And then November and October, we're going to have all like the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, 3 million pages of evidence against Hollywood, and all that will connect with the Britney Spears stuff. And that will really get the ball rolling for where we need to be. And then a little bit, like I've been saying, 2022 is going to be the most astronomical year of anybody's life. That's when the quantum financial system will come on. That's when the Nasara stuff will come in. Because 2022, the numerical of it all, you know,
the 2, yeah.
February totally.
22nd.
Yeah. So I feel like we're going to, the rest of what I call the ripping of the Band-Aid is going to happen through the rest of this summer into September, October, November. And then that's when all of this amazing, beautiful new earth, age of Aquarius, golden timeline, whatever you want to call it, will really come into fruition. Is 2022, because this was written in the stars. This was written in the ancient civilizations. This is something that was going to happen no matter what. And it was really about the timeline of it all, like how we were going to battle for it. And yeah, like you said, Trump sitting ringside at UFC. I mean, doesn't get more real than, you know, they're gone.
How long, too, has Trump been pretty much walking hand in hand at any of his speeches that you've given with Jorge Masvidal? Sitting there right there with a Cuban-American first generation who's been touting off loud, who's best friends with Colby Covington, pro-Trump dude, like for years, you know, beforehand. And now we're watching all this unfold with Cuba, and what we know about Cuba in our history and conspiracy theorists is the Northwoods of it all is JFK was like, I ain't doing that. We're not doing this. So there's been this constant thing. I do think something magical. There is something about Cuba that they have had to keep this place on lock for so long. We couldn't get a cigar from there for however many years, but we also have Guantanamo Bay there. And if you look up the lease agreement with a Guantanamo Bay, it's all for gold. It's a gold-only agreement, which is that's spell shit to me. There's like, we take these very high wizards and priestess and whatever, and we drop them off in this place that they're like locked in from using their magic. That's what it seems like. It seems like next level thinking, but all this stuff's also in QAnon. The first time I called myself a witch was really just triggering because it sounded faggy to me. Like it sounded too feminine of a word I'd use for myself. But all the QAnon magic of it all, that is where I was a logical person. I worked in history. I worked in numbers. I didn't work in woo-woo. I have woo-woo friends. I tarot and I have stones, but I never was one of those people before. And then somewhere with the QAnon of like, this is so much, it's more magical than you think. It's all
way
bigger
more
than things. And I started having people on one of my old podcasts that were spiritual healers and Reiki and energy and wizards. And because powers unlock powers, all of a sudden stuff started happening with me. I thought I was losing my fucking mind, but it was really just like my heart chakra opening up, and empathy, and feeling other people's emotions, and you know, realizing that some things that you're like, oh my gosh, do I have this superpower? And then you're like, maybe I've had this superpower my whole life, but it manifested in anxiety and I wasn't listening to it. And so I would just sit and my heart would palpitate and I'd think I was going to die, but really I was just feeling somebody's emotions in the room, or alleviating someone from their, you know, ailments.
Totally. Empath, complete empath. Because I was the same way. I couldn't like, even like when I would go out like to like the clubs or bars or whatever, I have to be fucking shit faced, because if not, I felt everybody's energy. It would actually make me sick to my stomach, where I'd have to run to the bathroom and shit, because I had to get this energy out of me. Not to sound disgusting, but like, it's just something that you would just feel deep inside of you. And like you said, like the Q stuff, like it is magic. It's meme magic. It's ancient esoteric magic. And you know, with Cuba, there was, if you could look this up, supposedly there was fucking pyramids in Cuba, like
right off the coast.
Yes.
Yeah, Matt LaCroix, I always send people there. Matt LaCroix does an ancient civilization. He does this really awesome photo dig of it all too. And if you even look to like the Cuba, I believe attached to the Yucatan with the Key West of it all, like coming down like that.
Yes.
I think the Gulf of Mexico is the biggest freshwater lake on the planet. And I think that Cuba maybe was the start of civilization. I don't think it was Africa at all. I think it all come from America. Every other country on the whole fucking planet, if you take people out of that country, they look like the name of that country. You take an American, fucking 30 different images just shot through your head. Like something about the Americas and what we represent, even the way we all look so different from each other, that's how we would have started. We would have started brown and gone white to black. We wouldn't have started black and then faded to white. We would have started in the middle and gone both ways. And that's kind of what the Mexico, Cuba, even the Latin conquering, the Fountain of Youth of Florida, like it's all right there. Texas, like it all just seems like the New Orleans, the magic of New Orleans, the hoodoo, voodoo, all of it just seems so magical. And there's something they just wanted to, and look how much gold they stole from those motherfuckers right when they pulled on shore.
El Dorado.
Yeah. Sorry to
interrupt.
City
of Gold. No. El Dorado, the city of lost gold. No, totally. I mean, I agree with all of that. 1,000,000%. It's like, you know, what it really boils down to is it's a battle over timelines and ley lines. They know where these energy centers on this planet is. They know, not to get into the flat earth stuff, but they know we're in a firmament. They know about the ice walls. They know about all this shit, dude. And they want to keep it for themselves. They want to keep it all for themselves. They want to keep the gold. They want to keep the energy centers of the earth. They want to keep the timeline. They want to keep us so far away from this shit. Why do you think that they're building pyramids in Egypt, but then they're also building pyramids in the Mayan jungle? Like, there has to be some sort of natural law book that says that these shapes, these numbers, these frequencies, these places are somewhere special. You know, these precious metals are something special. You know, you talked about Ponce de Leon going to find the Fountain of Youth. What if that was adrenochrome? You know, we know now that that they believe that's the Fountain of Youth. What if they were over there just raping and killing these indigenous kids that were in Florida, in St. Augustine, Jesuit? It's like, they literally have been hiding this and doing this shit for so fucking long. And now we are taking the power back, you know, like, not to like bring dates or things into this, but just I guess a crazy coincidence. I'm born on March 4th. Okay. The original inauguration date, which I didn't even fucking know, was March 4th. And that's when we were still a sovereign republic. And, you know, General Flynn's out there chirping saying we're a sovereign republic. I believe that there were 2 inaugurations, and I believe Trump was already inaugurated. And that's why he's going to be able to get reinstated, because they're going to flip it and they're going to say, you know, this is what it was. It was the corporation versus the sovereign republic. And I feel like the first place that you're going to see is Texas. That's why Texas is still known as the Republic of Texas, because we're sovereign. And that's why they can't do their fucked up shit over here. Like I said, with the COVID stuff, with the lockdowns and all that, that was for the military operation. I truly, truly, truly believe that. And I, like you said, we had the choice of allowing them to do this shit. And I feel like we are headed into a sovereign republic. We are breaking away from this Jesuit fucking spell that they've put on us for so long.
Democracy is a spell. It's the word I kept thinking in my head. Democracy is a spell. Democracy is a spell. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic. Every county is supposed to be run by a mayor that you choose because you know where that mayor lives and you hold them accountable and they're supposed to go and speak for you. It's all set up in a system that every little small part can live how they see fit, to worship how they see fit, to do. But then there's federal rules that are like, don't fucking hurt kids or we're going to come in and take care of that shit. But then there's these blanket rules. But yes, constitutional republic is something I hear people talk about, fucking democracy, and we're going to go to war and give a great big gift of democracy. No, democracy is a spell. It means majority rule. And if majority always rule, then the majority can always be brainwashed. The majority never changes the world. And in a very simple term, everybody thinks that there should be ramps so that wheelchairs can get into buildings. If democracy worked, that would never happen because we'd never do things for the less fortunate. We'd only make majority rule. We'd only make rules for the majority. No minorities would ever be free. No women would be ever able to vote because we'd only do things for the majority. So I think that democracy is a fucking spell. Like, we're supposed to be constitutional republic.
Totally. It's the Admiralty law, how they control us by water. We're 70% water. The Jesuits know all this shit, dude. They know, like, our citizenship. We come in on the ship. For people that don't know this stuff, go watch all of Santos Bonacci's videos because he's the best at breaking it down. Like, literally the best. Him and I don't know if you ever heard of like War Castles, Russell J. Gould, with all like the quantum language. You should look into him too, because he figured out how to break their spell and how our language is what's keeping us enslaved. It's some really fucking heavy, crazy shit that I don't perfectly know, so I don't want to like just spew bullshit. But look into, either watch Santos and watch War Castles for people listening to this. But they literally have used this Admiralty law against us for so long to keep our water controlled and under their spell. And with a sovereign republic and with breaking from that Jesuit, from the crown, because in 1871 we got sold out. I don't know if you know about Ulysses S. Grant sold us out. So the last president that was inaugurated on March 4th was Abraham Lincoln. That was the last president that was inaugurated on March 4th. And that's why I believe Trump was actually inaugurated on March 4th. And I think that, Flynn is not like some bullshit poll artist that's going to just say things, like he stands for his word. He's like the realest of the real.
Who's General Flynn?
For people that don't know.
Yeah.
General Flynn is a 3-star general. He was in Obama's NSA. So he was always getting that information. He is definitely on the Q team. That's for sure. I mean, he's come out and he's made videos saying where we go one, we go all. He's pretty much showing his hand that he is a part of the Q team. And him, Lynn Wood, Sidney Powell, they have like this like red pill roadshow basically where they go around and they say all these things. And Flynn literally came out and said, we're a sovereign republic in simpler terms. So this guy is not no bullshit. You know what I mean? He's not no pick of the litter. And his brother's
like a high general now, still in the active military. Like, he's not bullshit. He's not just some, snake oil salesman going around.
Yeah. And that shows you Biden's not in control, because why would they make the number one enemy of the corporation head of the Pacific Fleet? Why would they put that guy's brother in charge? You know what I mean? It's like, if they were really in control, and we didn't really get into this, but I'll get into it real quick. The Biden presidency was supposed to happen. This is the Operation Wake Up. This was to make the lefties and the liberals that, believed in all these ideologies that Biden was going to stand for, and him do the exact opposite, was to push them into a red pill situation where it wouldn't have to just be a fucking suppository just shoved up their ass and break their consciousness and make them lose it. So they had to use Biden as this figurehead for this operation, which is Operation Wake Up, which we're going through right now and which is about to end. And Trump's going to come back, and it's not going to be clean. I'll say that. People are still going to freak out, but it's going to be clean and swift. As soon as these riots happen or these things happen, the military's stepping in this time. It's not going to be the cops and they're going to let you burn down the cities and run rampant. They're going to come and they're just going to whatever they're going to do. You know, if you want to go into a full, like a Joker type of situation where, like, you know, all these people start like rioting and wilding and shooting guns. I hate to say this, but you're going to get shot in the fucking head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like at this point, I truly believe that some of these people, it has to happen anyway. You know, they're coexisting on a timeline they're not supposed to be on. And I hate to say that, not to bring my compassion
everyone's
into
gonna make it. There's people that are so far gone, like the people that are some people were set up in certain cities for so long just in this self-absorbed drug state, and you can see them in their arrest records. I think of all the Portland people, and they've been paid by George Soros, and they've lived on unemployment, and they've traveled to all these little hubs to go and create race wars. And if you really look up all the loudest mouths of the Marxist Black Lives Matter, and I always say LGBTQ, same Marxist people, same Marxist group. It does not stand for gay people any more than BLM stands for black people. But when you look at all those riots, it's all those same looking drugged out fucking pasty white kids. They look like they're going to go to a Nirvana concert. But
yeah, dude.
Yeah, it doesn't look at all like, oh, that looks like African Americans or black people standing up for their rights. And they look just as orchestrated as when Trump did the Sarasota rally, how they tried to make look at skinheads marched in Philly. Skinheads marched in Philly. It's just so orchestrated. And the fact that they can put on these masks now and just cover their heads with whatever they want. Yeah, it's the same people doing the same things, the same actors doing the same things. So
exactly.
I definitely feel like we're at the energetically, I can feel the end game of it all. And the more they amp up the Delta variant killing people again, and the more I hear Bluebeam start to talk about, I'm like, they are full blown panicking. Like they don't know what move's going to come next, but they feel it all coming. And so they're trying to cover all their bases. And I also believe all the CNNs and MSNBCs and Fox News talking heads of it all, they've been getting for our lifetimes a script from the elite of exactly what to say. They don't have that script right now. That's why they still keep talking about the insurrection. So it's like, it sounds silly when they talk about it now, because you were there on the 6th, weren't you?
No, I didn't go.
You didn't go.
No.
It sounds silly for the people that were there, but even the people that know the people that were there, whether they agree with them ideology politically or not, they are like, well, it didn't go down like the TV. I don't know why the TV's still talking about it. And even in what the TV says, one person died. Well, should we still be talking about this like it's 9/11? It's like the most it's not interesting. It was nothing happened that day. And I actually was really bitter. I went through this period of time where I was like, what the fuck? Why did Trump set us up like that? I just felt like I was set up that day. Like, what? I was an Anon. I showed up. I just thought we were showing up to watch Pence fucking, we knew what he was going to do. We weren't surprised what he did. I just thought we were going to watch it. And so we could watch all the MAGA people get their red pill, because they all thought they were red pilled voting for Trump, but they just still believe Republicans were all good guys. And so really, I just thought that's what I was going to watch. And then I felt set up for a little bit, and then I got a little pissed at the code monkey of it all. Like, this motherfucker set us up. He sent us all there. He was like the biggest pusher. Like, hey, I'll pay for hotel rooms. Anyone need help to get to DC? Go, go, go.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't even know that.
Now I sit back and I'm like, oh, we had to be there. If we weren't all there with our phones, because we were the news now. If we weren't all there, the conspiracy theorists kind of had to be the ones that were there so we could validate to ourselves that this shit wasn't the way the TV was saying, but also our magic had to be there. Our beliefs, our families all checking in on us. Even if they hated us and hadn't talked to us forever, they all were with us there. And I had people at my most woo-woo wizard witchy friends like, hey, I have to just do a reading for you tonight. I had my most Christian family members. Can I pray for you today? Can I give you some holy water? Can I give you a rock? Can I give you everybody? I was like, yeah, I'll take it. But I wasn't the only one at DC with all that energy around me. Everyone I knew had this same experience. So it was like, it was supposed to be a lot uglier that day.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it also comes down to this. Like, for me, January 6th was the moment where the real power of the collective was shown, that we're not scared of them. You know, maybe not running up in the buildings and doing all the shit that happened, whatever. But showing the cabal that we're not fucking taking this laying down. We don't care who's in charge, because if you really want to fuck with us and we all come together, you're fucked. you're fucked, because the power is in the numbers. And that was shown that day. And I people hate that day or whatever, but I'm proud of the people for that day, because they finally showed some balls.
If you were fucking there, you could see the fucking the provocateurs, the people that were really just trying to make it as ugly as possible. But any real patriots or anons, or even I'll say the Proud Boys, anytime a cop was grabbed and kind of pulled toward the crowd that shit could have gone awry, one of the biggest dudes would push the cop back to the cops. Like, there was a big, huge proponent of people trying to keep it very tame and very, like, there was this big protective masculine energy. And I felt like the wiling out part of it, you could feel the provocateurs in it, and you could also
Antifa.
You could totally feel the Antifa. Even myself walking down from the Capitol, like, I was freezing cold. Everybody there, it was like the coldest day ever that snow didn't hit the ground. And so I bought a hat and scarf, Trump hat and scarf, on my way down. Big, huge made in China stickers on it. Didn't even fucking pay attention to any of it. I was just freezing. I put it on, put my scarf on. I look like accidental Antifa. Even my clothes. I walked in, like, I didn't go inside the Capitol, but I walked up to the doors of the Capitol, like all into the mix of it. Everybody just opened doors for me. You know how you saw people hanging off scaffolding? They just saw me and were like, free tour. That's actually what one guy said to me as I got into the, like, final doorway.
No
free
way.
Tour. And I was like, it dawned on me after I was in such this safety bubble, and really I didn't get, like, my spell broken out of it until like tear gas landed so harsh in front of me. I hadn't worn a mask yet for the whole COVID thing. I had this buff around my neck just for tear gas if it were to happen, that I ended up pulling up. It was the only time I had a mask on all of 2020. And it was like, once the tear gas hit me and my face started snotting and tearing, it was like, what am I doing right now? What's happening? Where am I? But nobody was scared. It was like the people at the front lines were having this moment. I actually had a flash at one point, like, if I make it inside, I'm going to be in there for 3 days. I didn't know why it was 3 days, but I felt like if we collectively broke in, we were going to now be trapped into this standoff for 3 days that was going to get ugly. And something in me was like, oh, I don't want to be in there for 3 days. Like, I just wanted to walk away. And it's so weird that you said, like, even the flag, that sovereign flag of the Nasara Jasara of it all. My friend who I was with in DC carried that flag the whole time. And out of all the flags, which weren't just don't tread on me flags, they weren't Trump flags. I actually think the Antifa were all the ones with the Trump flags and the red like I was wearing and the Trump like I was wearing. All the real patriots were with their American flags and their don't tread on me and their, Dixie flags. They had their flags of their states. There was people with China flags. There was people with Russian flags. There was every kind of flag you can fucking imagine. That's why all of the footage they keep showing on the news is so minuscule, because they have to keep cutting out the amount of color. They don't want a black person to be there. That'll ruin the narrative. There were so many black and brown people there. There were so many black, and it was such a love fest. Even though we were all miserable in this cold, before that moment, it was a love fest. We were standing over the mirror pool singing the national anthem. Everyone put their phones away because people were bawling. And so whatever kind of thing happened that day, that the news keeps talking about it, I'm like, the narrative is such they're panicked and we're at the end game and
it's falling apart.
Yeah.
For sure, it's falling apart.
Like our predictions of the New World Order in 2005, we thought it'd be a lot swifter and cleaner than this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is as sloppy as it's ever been. There are these people that like to hide and operate in the shadows, and they're fully exposed. That's what it really comes down to, is they're fully exposed, and they don't do that. Like they literally can't work their spell without us accepting it. That's the Kabbalistic magic of it. It's like, we have to accept this. That's why they put it in these award shows and Olympics and this and that, because we have to accept their magic, right? So if we know about them and we know what they're doing, they can't fucking work their magic, dude. It's like they only have a small portion now of society that's still under this mind control, because I think even like the dumbest liberals, or like the most normie of the normies, are starting to see that shit is just not what it was. It's like people are seeing that they're living in a different type of time, and that the tides are starting to turn.
I feel it. Okay, I'm totally going to get you out of here. Do you want to leave anyone with anything and tell everyone where to find you?
Well, first off, I'm humbled. Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I can't wait to do it again. This is a great conversation.
It was super fun.
Yeah, we really flowed. We put a lot of energy out there. I hope any Black Pillars or Doomers watching this, you guys learned something today. You can follow me on Instagram, Graffanati 19. I have a podcast, Graffcast. It's on YouTube. Look me up. I'm actually doing an episode with Santos on Thursday, so that should be awesome. And yeah, we're definitely gonna do this again. You definitely have to come on my show too.
Totally,
this was
so
awesome. I appreciate it, really.
I'm so glad that there's still Anons out there. In the white squall of it all, it's like we all left as anonymous little frogs, but now look here's our faces.
Exactly.
It matters.
Exactly. Totally.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you again.
Thank you guys for listening. Bye-bye.
So she has been Cheney, and now she's off to smoke a blunt. See you next Tuesday, you fucking cunts.